Welcome everyone here to the second day of the PMCO UK finals. Myself, obviously, Alan Wolf and Professor Tarzan, and also a nod to our sponsor, the beautiful Nemo TV, and the official media partner of the PUBG Mobile Pro League in the 2021 season. We have seen so far one day of games, Tarzan, and I am saying Syrax straight off the gate, probably one of the teams to watch.
Man, I mean, look at that point average right now. We played 4 games and they've got almost 20 points per game. We look at those stats before. The champion from Spring Split was RESQ, and their point per game were around 11. So right now, there's 3 teams who are close to that, right? We've got TSC Legends in second place with 59 points. So Quick Match there, just below 15. We've got 777 Esports just below 11. So it will be a huge consistency game that we talk about. But after all, it's not just Mats, it's all the things behind the scenes as well. We know they've got homework to do. We've got some clashes early games yesterday that might not be expected, but some of these rematches are due to happen because it's an ego thing sometimes. Like we mentioned, let's go and look at some stats.
It is going to be a little bit of a doozy here when it comes to the finals. 4 days and 4 matches per day these teams have to play. Of course, as we said, who has done well in the first day, but there's still 75% more to play. Of course, 14 teams progressing from that group stage and are joining, yes, RESQ and Gaijin Seraphim to hopefully all contest for that one coveted final PMPL Season 2 spot to alongside their Lack and Austria MVP and also League of Defense League. And to be fair, I think it is very much said that this team, whoever gets there, probably going to be one of the most aggressive teams.
Is a tricky one, because we talked about aggression all the time, and the past days, or should we say the past days of the tournament's been showing this issue with smart aggression, like knowing how to make it clean, well-timed and all that. It's extremely important. Of course, this come with experience, but a lot of VOD reviews and practice as well.
Of course, those points, that's where it all comes in. Yes, you can get the kill points, Tarzan, but you also need to get some placement points as well. And those 15 points per chicken dinner certainly has really boosted a team like Syrax to that top with already, as we mentioned, 2 chicken dinners to their name, looking pretty darn dominant when it comes to Miramar and Erangel, as we will discuss that later on. But not only, I think, to be fair, the prize pool, but also the fact that, also the prize pool here, should I say, as well. And actually, the fact that $1,000 going to be up for grabs for that first place team, $30,000 overall. And even if you are going to get that top spot, it's not just the money, it's that PMPL spot that we're also looking for, and also that cash for all the rest of them. Even that 17th to 32nd position, $500 for all of those teams who, yes, aren't here in the finals, but did do well in their own right.
You can see the difference is not so huge in a way, right? And when we compared from maybe 5th place and downwards, there's a difference of $50 per rank, I should say. So you want to go for that top spot, not just for the bigger difference when it comes to that jump, but also the pride and to represent the region, right? And we will, of course, have 4 maps again today. This is day 2 out of 4. It's the same time, same number of maps, same teams for 2 more days after today, of course. So after today, we will have officially played half the games for the finals, and we will be a lot closer to seeing who might be able to represent the region.
Oh man, it's making me hungry looking at a Erangel sandwich, Tarzan. I mean, I had a friend here who is eating veggie burgers for dinner, and I am getting already, feel like I'm famished. And we're not even started. I'm going to have 4 games of action, but we're going to have to go to a short break before I can have my fill. We'll see you guys in a bit.
Xiaomi.
And we are back once more to PMCO UK Grand Finals 2021 full season. Tarzan, we're going to go straight back into it with our first game once again very soon. But while we wait, I just wanted to mention, of course, Syrax are in first position, but already 62 points in just 2 games, Tarzan. And that's enough to honestly be better than that second position, TSC Legends, that did that well.
Pretty insane, right? We talked about stats and all that, and we love playing around the match. So, yes, one of these big games, you get 30 plus points, and that's really giving you a very decent cushion. But of course, when we talk about that average, we cross-referenced some of these other regions. So we're going to use those overall results to give us some idea as well. 79 points at that top spot after 1 day, and we've got 4. Some of these other regions, when we looked at those, I think 200 points would be kind of safer. I say like 11 points per game. It's a little bit cutting it close. I think it was quite close at the top of the leaderboard last time round. And so, yes, it's going to be quite different. I think some maybe disqualification came through as well that affected that leaderboard. So I can't dig deeper than that. 200 should be that mark.
I think that definitely Syrax Esports are on their way towards that 200 mark. We'll, of course, have to see how we do today, though. We have seen teams find that one pop-off day, not do so well for the rest of the tournament, so we don't want to fill them with too much hope just yet. But also, to be fair, that there were a lot of those teams on the rest of that leaderboard who could have still performed, and I think to perform even all of these teams on the right-hand side. I think very surprising that Conqueror Wizards only 17 points in yesterday's games, and a lot of those came through from their placement points, not their kill points. When consideration, you look back to the group stage, these teams one of the most kill-heavy squads.
Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing, to be fair. Like, we're yet to see some very good consistency coming through from some teams, and Conqueror UK would be one of them. We try to compare them with some of the top teams, and of course, we mentioned the craziest comeback from that group stage with a 75-point record on that day 3 of their own group stage play, and that is... it's a little bit disappointing to come back, to a 17-point day. So there's definitely something for them to fix, but they are not the only one. When we look at the bottom of that table, Triple Sports Club, we mentioned how they can have big games, especially from PMNC. At this point, it's getting a little bit old now. It's almost like that was a one-time thing, but we know, like from the history of the team and the players, that they have the ability to play at the highest level and take these big games as well. But they are definitely the different type of team compared to the other bottom teams when we have at 15th Team Savage and 16th Arena51. When we are being harsh, we're being very almost scientific when it comes to how PUBG works. They are like lacking certain skills when it comes to certain departments, certain phases of the game, especially towards that mid game. There's something very distinct that some of these teams are lacking.
Definitely a lot to fix. I think, of course, it does come down to, I think, also just acknowledgement of where teams could possibly be on these maps and how teams do rotate. And then that comes also back, though, towards preparation outside the game.
Yes.
I thought about it a lot yesterday, but I do want to re-enhance that statement because it's very true in the sense that actually, if teams who don't do their preparation beforehand, they don't actually come into the games with the best quality that they can bring because they're not doing the behind-the-scenes work, then they're actually hindering themselves before they even play in today's games. They're hindering themselves in the future of these finals, and that's something that I really want to note. If teams can do this, they may not be the best team on paper, but because they prepared the best, then also they can be the best also equally.
So I think to follow with that point, there are certain skirmishes that we are looking out for. So let's start with Erangel. I think Savernia is going to be one for sure. We knew the side of Syrax, I believe, started the day decently there by dropping in Savernia alongside Gaijin Seraphim. And Gaijin did something that we thought could be embarrassing. I hope they fix that. But it seems like after that, they've been doing better. Not dominant yet, but that will be one thing that we are looking out for. So when we go over to some other maps, Sanhok, we talk about Hartin, between the two triples, 777 Esports and the side Triple Sports Club. Will they be duking it out again in Hartin? I'm really looking forward to that.
I think that, to be fair, there could be a lot of that contention. It is about if teams have that, because it's always the best idea And back to Gaijin, who fell out early. We go back to also a lot of these teams over, particularly on Sanhok as well, who fell out early too. I think that you're looking in now at a position where teams, they do need to maybe not be so aggressive. Yes, they obviously love to be, but they need to be also caring of where other teams are on the map as we head through to this first game here. And our beautiful sponsor, Tarzan, none other than Xiaomi, where you can enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG builds on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G.
And let's go. We've got this game one ready. Going over Stelba, pretty eastern playing path, I would say. Definitely allow them to go towards Southern Island, though. So that is going to a bit of a twist. You know, I want some adaptation to come through, to be fair. We know, yes, now Pollyanna is not very hot. The teams that like to go there have been out of the tournament. So that itself is a very good spot that, you know, have good loot, good positions to hold if it ever goes there, and great access to other parts of the map. So that's something that I want to see teams pick up. But you know what? We talk about maybe having a chess game, right? Like, you know, it's empty. You don't want to go there yet because some other teams may do the same.
Already down towards that South Island. 777, of course, going to drop down onto Novo. You've got to imagine so, but also interesting to see a spill, and also those of Sanhok military base do decide to go down there once more. I think the spill do change it up a little bit, and now we do see potentially Triple also dropping down towards the south side. Team Savage not also going to drop down to Sanhok, but Syrax will be there, and they will take up Sanhok military base themselves. Spill deciding opportunity to go towards Stalbo, and an interesting split for them now to decide where that zone goes, though, because that zone is going to be nice as well, and it's going to allow all of these teams a fair, easy way, you could argue, into this first phase. Nothing too scary.
Pretty interesting. I can see Uncles taking your star Pollyanna. Historically, they do quite like Milta as well, so they drifted away from that. And to be fair, like, no one's really going there after a few teams getting eliminated. So Southern Island is quite interesting for sure. Like for me, like 777, it seemed that goes towards Novo, Syrax as well. Like in PMNC, Novo is their spot. Maybe it's a bit of a gentleman agreement there. We did know that Londa played with Cable in PMNC under Syrax Esports, so they would just just take each a spot, right? But we look at that center zone, as I say, to zoom in around Rozhok. That is where that crowd is right now. That's actually quite crazy, and you can see teams are getting to that position to maybe just grab those cars, like heading towards Georgiapol. RESQ will be on the move, but that is the central belt that we talk about. That seems to be the crowd is right now, but with that phase one circle being pretty nice, right, for the teams within, they need to see how to fight it and what plays to take. For the teams outside, though, seems like there won't be teams really gatekeeping them unless that trap is there. And we always say we want that to be a possibility, not being terrible here, just want people to have done their homework.
RESQ as well, one of those very aggressive teams who came out in that first day. Very, very strong game of the first match. Of course, didn't quite win it, but they did come out with a really plentiful amount of kills. I think, though, to be fair, again, you look back towards the second, the third, the fourth games, RESQ not quite with it. And I think also to an extent, we put Gaijin on that same train. And I worry that now, with Gaijin and also RESQ, of course, missing out in that entirety of group stage, maybe they're just not as prepared with the rest of these teams. And you're hoping that now at least they've had one day of play, maybe we can start to realize what these teams are bringing to the table, because it didn't feel that was the case in yesterday's games.
Well, we never know, right? Like when it comes to, we can only guess, like, until someone tells us. And something that's happening good for now would be Conqueror to have that early support. Like initially a 1v1, they were able to take out a third of the HP from Tequila, from KurdVictory, and that pickup will be coming through. Hisoka no longer alone and will drift back towards these compounds around Rozhok. Important though, of pretty crowded area right now, B4V in close proximity, a team that is known for that aggression. But we saw yesterday they have been so aggressive sometimes that they get punished for a squad who are excelled in those reactive plays. So that is going to be something that they definitely need to fix. Like from group stage, we mentioned that already, and about I don't think there will be some huge change. Like those results will tell us when it comes to whether they've put some work into those rotation and survival skills.
Also there as well, another one of those teams we mentioned, aggressive but not finding any results. Conqueror up against also Born for Victory. When you look towards Born for Victory here, Tarzan, Born for Victory also very surprising in a sense the way they were playing yesterday. Of course, they're coming in 7th position. They almost clinched that Sanhok game, but apart from Sanhok, they have struggled too. And I think this has been the story of maybe some of these teams, yes, that we expect to come in doing well, but not really having the contention for a lot of those other teams that we thought would be aggressive. But there was Danoka, albeit does go down. Kryzen does find the first one over inside RESQ here. Will dodge out of bullets, and now also Snorby. Snorby tries to find a little bit of Hilu, but Grenade also equally going to come on through. Will it find its mark as well? Yes, it will. Ooh. And that will for Victory. 1-for-1 trade with Conqueror. But who will continue to strike first? You look at the position as Tarzan, and I think the Conqueror, they probably have a slight advantage when it comes to really controlling the outskirts of RESQ here, considering they get that revive off as well.
Yeah, I think the real advantage is for the team that has most information. So I really wondered if the side of Conqueror UK knew that Born for Victory is in town, right? So when you drop to the east of RESQ, you should ideally drift someone whilst on that parachute to see whether there's someone to come over here, because if this is along the rotation path, these traps can really be to their death. That's as plain as it gets. You come in here, if someone knows how to set the trap, they play passive, you run into their crosshair. But that will be a great response from the side of Conqueror, and Born for Victory would need to sit back a little bit and think what they've done. We talk about aggression, got the early knock, but we'll lose one player first. Some things needs to be fixed, and maybe I need to go back, to be fair. We all need to do some homework. Has B4V always been around RESQ, and if they have, what have they learned in here? So it's still a very volatile position. We know RESQ, we can have teams rotating around. It takes some strongest position maybe to is northwest. Teams can come in right now, and I believe both of these teams are too far to even pick that up. And of course, we always have that hill between RESQ and school to be ever so deadly.
But for sure, Conqueror have been here before, and particularly around RESQ in the vicinity previously. In Conqueror, they obviously do have that information, and potentially more so, as you say, Born for Victory really not so much known for taking control of this. I think equally, B4V have also dropped down here, maybe trying to change it up a little bit, considering that they didn't really, of course, have all that great results when it came over to the first day of the Erangel games, 8th and 12th position, Tarzan.
Yep, and so much of those points as well were from that second game where the zone really gave them a lot of edge, right? So that is something that we can't rely on. This team still needs to fix those similar things, and this time around, but Conqueror got more to fix, especially after a huge day. That contrast really make you get scared if you are, in the management, even as the players, and definitely for the fans. So it's going to be very important for them to make use of the knowledge here, and Ari on that south side can really get some crossfire with that off angle. And historically, just to add some data as well, Ari, pretty experienced player from the MENA region, if my brain serves me correctly, and that will be him maybe coming in to be very strong. And with Danoka, hopefully they will have that bond and synergy coming through. That will be Danoka delivering the other knock, so that will be a 4v2. And Conqueror knows this as well, but City, very, very dangerous if you didn't have the info. But if you have the footsteps, it should be go time.
It's just, again, the way that Conqueror are pushing this, so they're not being too aggressive, they're being slightly respectful. Ahsoka does sneak away Kryzen, they will confirm her away, and now it's another one falling down. Yes, the revive comes on the backside, though, so it should still be a 2v4. However, it is a definite 2v4, because Kryzen is very, very much dead, and Conqueror, they now continue to push further inside. Almost a nade going to hit down Knight, but it's one room too far away. And now Knight steps further back. RB will also be there. The healing coming through. Knight takes a grenade almost to the face. Does get chunked a slight little bit. But now they've got a problem, Tarzan, because Danoka is inside and they've got no real way to fire down and defend themselves. Because that position allows now the rest of Conqueror also to step up, and B4V, they're getting surrounded.
I think it's time to make use of not just numbers advantage, but synchronized utilities to get the most efficiency in this fight, because they know it's a 4v2. They need to have a good sequence when it comes to using utilities to push them maybe towards one side, and the second one can deliver most damage. So these are the things that teams sometimes overlook in their practice. After all, it should still be on their side, but Knight still very much in play here. B4V can still turn this.
Still, Conqueror do continue to hold in. We do have now Snowboy in the off angle. Potentially Knight goes for a little bit of a sneak peek. Take Snowboy down, but unfortunately won't be the case. Now, it's RESQ Conqueror. They do hold on stepping upstairs, but they do finally make that push, and rightly so. Hisoka, with a confidence, takes down two. Don't even need the help of their team. And Tarzan, it is a clean wipe here. And unfortunately, B4V, they're going to have an even worse position. 16th. This time around on Erangel in our second phase zone, albeit also has centered now around really those barrel holes in the center. And I love this position because I think that Uncle's taking this up. A lot of decisions on how Uncle's can take this, and also a decision on how Uncle's really need to split around this location as well.
Yeah, many teams got their plans in their heads, and they've got really depending on the positions, right? Like Syrax right now, historically a team that are very aware of how to cross the bridge. Same for 777 Esports. They got a little bit of formation every time. Careful, you just can't, go for something too blind. And of course, I'm not trying to imply anything, but I'm just going to go straight in with this one. Arena51 was definitely one of those squads that need to work on their scouting, and maybe Syrax need to work on the driving. But this time around, got some distance to come through this position for their drop as well in relation to the circle. Really allows them to test their scouting skills, how to do some edge play, sweep their way in. And we talk about Team Savage, a team that was getting quite a lot of points, really ranking first when it comes to group stage placement points. And this time around, not having a good first day. This is time for them to redeem themselves. And sometimes their splits need to be well thought out. And in these split compounds, can be quite hard to defend at times.
I mean, they've only got 15 points, Taz, and they're in 15th position, and unfortunately now also could be a vital fight here as TSC up against RESQ. Not so much in the bottom, but a fight for the top. Here is now Tick will get dropped in a second on Coyote, and Bouger with a Tony. They strike down a double onto RESQ, and now RESQ, they are down to 2. Blood, Hyper, they have to step up, not so much the first day, but they maybe find a little bit of a pinch onto Bouger. Nade has to be expired, and now Hyper steps up, will just go forward, takes down Bouger. A little bit of a sleeper move there from TSC. I think with RESQ, they could have easily been punished in that situation, but Bouger was dead either way. Hyper inside, and the outside though, Blood is getting a little bit destroyed. Hyper now going to be knocked with a brilliant grenade through from the help of Tony, and that's a complete wipe. It's a final. Blood will fall and be drawn by TSC Legends. Another strong fight coming through from them, and TSC winning another Game 1 fight on Erangel against RESQ.
Very good, quick adaptation upon that crash, and it's good, like, however they want to defend it, as long as they can buy time, is on that new southwestern edge. So that means that RESQ needs to wrap up the fight quickly as well. Otherwise, that third, fourth party can come in, and that will be the battle between two top squads. TSC holding on to that second position strong for sure, and RESQ, to be honest, 26 points out of those 39 were from that Game 1. Since then, we are waiting for even more. And speaking of waiting, Triple Sports Club is another one, still not quite there yet in this finals, and that will be them needing to find a spot in, and very close to them, 777 Esports already lost Londa.
777 though were the top of the group stage, and they just really are going to struggle when it comes to already a 36-point gap between them and top now. They're going to have to find those big games, of course. It is going to be difficult. Syrax still here, and I think that Syrax, honestly, coming out of that first day, I don't want to hype them up as we say too much, but if they can continue this average and come into the rest of these 4 games today, and they get another 79-esque series of games, we're probably looking at Syrax already breaking that 200-point mark in day 3, potentially. Never mind day 4. And that was as we saw in Spring Split. As you mentioned, the point that really teams had to make to be able to qualify through from not only the Spring Split, but also get first in doing so.
Yep, I mean, Man, I don't want to jinx them. You know, I'm scared now that we've worked with Max. Like, that is scary to make any predictions.
It's
But
very
he won't
scary.
be here for us to grill. And if he's somehow watching, would be my response. But let's talk about the circle. When we talk about certain compounds that's still in the circle but on the edge, and there's so many more within the center of the circle. So if you're taking one of these like you are on this side, but hold that thought, Triple is trying to take some damage or deal damage instead. Example team feeling that pain.
Triple Sports Club, the first kill of the game, and now also Gaijin on the northern side as well, sneaking a little bit inside, and you can see a potential position where Triple Sports Club do get pinched. I think that this ridgeline is somewhere they're probably going to have to stay for the next zone and do have to wait it out because they can't really go anywhere unless they have the vehicles. They're pretty stuck in that location. They're going to have to rely that a team like Syrax or Gaijin does move away, so they are open a little bit more to maneuver. However, again, that game comes down to the positioning and also the trigger discipline now through from Triple Sports Club, because if they do make too much noise, they attract a little bit too much attention, and particularly considering that zone, it's gone right on top of Triple on the edge, and Syrax are probably going to look to try take that. However, that 2-2 split, not really a good position for them if they do get caught from behind as well.
Well, tricky spot for sure. New circle goes over to the south of the Yasnara fields. 777 have got a place to be called home, but I think it's a position that they need to probably defend. We've got some hay bales still on that northern side, burrow holes in that central belt across, and that main compound in the middle. Gaijin Seraphim are really holding that. The issue is, though, based on how they played yesterday, I can't for sure say that they have the ability to hold down the compound. Like, we're talking about maybe a 4v4 fight, but for a compound that can like result in a third party, fourth party that can be even worse. But CSC is also struggling after that first fight.
TSC, Euphoria, already dead, so now the uncles to take down a second. They are being a little bit sneaky though, we know. Tarzan, there is so many players already inside this zone, and of course it's going to be one of these zones where you have to play respectful, and this is what I love. I love that when we get a zone that is going to be tricky, it's going to have to force that respect coming from teams, because it's something that we've not seen so far, realistically, here in the PMCO UK, and I think that's something that's lacking a lot from a lot of these squads.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's for sure lacking, like, would be that prediction or planning, should I say. Shouldn't say prediction, I'd say planning would be the better word. They need to know what's the plan when they're playing in this current compound. Because if they are, for example, at where 777 Esports are at, likely that they need to shift. So whether they want to play loud or not is completely down to them. In a way, they just need to know how that means for the next phase, how they can transition into that, and that will be them pushing the sort of Arena51 away. Still not very aware of their weak side, and that might just be Boss having his shooting practice.
This is just, again, the problem you mentioned, Tarzan. They always push in, but they're just so disrespectful. The fact that they're literally one of the last teams, Tarzan, to enter into this zone, and yet they push in like they're one of the first.
Oh, to be fair, they've done one thing better. They did not crash straight onto 777. They stopped a little bit, but then they decide to go for a position that is not that much better, right? So it's about knowing the ridge lines, how much those hail can really cover you, and that will be UV still looking out for blood. But Boss will get picked up by Siren, and that's the time, though. Like, I think for them to not know their kill feed well enough, or the team number, would mean that they can't really pull any trigger on there. To be fair, it's a 1-for-1 trade, but if I were them, I would have memorized that team list, and I would know that they are 2 up, and I would just crash that compound.
Hurts really here for Wizard as well. Going to be eliminated in 14. They are very low down. 12 currently sitting in the leaderboard coming in today, but it was going to be maybe also the rest of Spill, potentially either Kurd joining him. Raccoon is down burning. He is a solo inside this location. Where is his team? They are not there. And Spill, they take a clean 2v4 in a missed position from KurdVictory. On the edge of zone, now they do need to consider that potential shift and that move further forward. It's also Arena51. They do lose confirmed. Another 2 knocks against them down to a solo as zone. Very far away from a lot of these squads, particularly on that north and that eastern side, because again, shifts hard away. The Barrel Hills are on that northern end. I think the hills above those Barrel Hills, though, just a little bit further south. I think that's also another one of those locations that probably going to be the strongest, considering there isn't really that many strong positions overall.
Yeah, it's a tricky spot right now. I think 777 could use a different plan, like 20 seconds to go. They definitely need to find a way to enter. It's going to be there's barrel holes in front of them, same as that compound held by Gaijin Seraphim. That is not going to be an easy entry. I need to say that. So the planning should have happened long ago. Like when that previous phase started, they know there's a high chance that they need to get into the circle. They need to have some plans already. They were focusing on spraying some enemies down on the side of Arena51, and now they need to transition into this plan. Of course, 2 barrel holes taken already. A little bit of small trick right there. 777 just need to play by what's in front of them.
Oh, I feel like they're playing. They're playing with fire, Tarzan, in amongst that flat open field. Taking risks like that on the top side. It looks damn cool. That is what I will say, is Spill also continue to push through from those flat fields. Now on to what could be, yes, KurdVictory going to be completely limited to the hands of 777. 777 losing one, but they finished off Arena51 before all of that. And as well, even Gaijin Shanu also going to get knocked and firsted away. Conqueror, we did say they were inside the edge of this zone, but only barely. 777 one side, of course, Spill on the other. 1802 going to join all so many. They just cannot make a position inside.
I think this type of circle, you just need to plan based on the landscape. That crash to a more vital position has to be one phase earlier for some of these teams. And you can see the style right now, everyone's still testing the water, like when it comes to the first game of the day. So it's not easy, but that will be both Example Team and TSC Legends out. And then we have one more team to be granted 1 placement points before we go to rack those up. And this northern side, I think the tricky thing is here. We always say, and I always say, I should say, what does it mean if I do this now? What does it mean if I hold this spot now? Northern side, 3 barrel holes, 3 teams. How are they going to plan for this? I think the scouting should start right now, and Boss is already in the position to maybe start planning ahead. And that is what separates the good teams and the great teams.
In the fact that Syrax already eliminated alongside so many of these top squads makes it so important now for teams like, of course, 777, who are really the only ones remaining. 1802, KurdVictory, RESQ, all also out. Born for Victory out. The next is Gaijin Seraphim. They're still in this game, and they're in 8th. Starting in this leaderboard, so you can see a lot of these top side of leaderboard completely wiped out already. It leaves a lot of room and a lot of growing room for the bottom side of this leaderboard, and I think now, if any, it is a good chance of that redemption for a lot of these squads still remaining. Is also their triple do lose 1. Reznov will be exploded. The Noka will also get dropped by 777.
And there's a good time to knock someone, to be fair. You need to force them to see whether they want to revive. But here comes a crash. That's a little bit bold, but they are ready as well. 3v4, a little bit pushing it, and that will be them losing that game right there. So 2 points going over to 777 when it comes to placement. 4 kills for those extra points. 6 for them this game, but this macro game is hard to play, and we already know based on those positions. And to be fair, that western side is getting slightly blessed. Not going to be easy, though. Pretty open center circle.
I think they probably should have gone on foot there. 777, probably a little bit of a mistake, having one in the vehicle, really incompatible into that fight as a result of it. Conqueror UK, though, we do take away now a 7th kill of the game, and this is really where Conqueror could start to really stand up tall. They do take 1 for 1. It will be a trade of snipers, but only now Lakrita watches as he will fall as well. Spill are left down to what will be only 1 little teardrop remaining. Alex have to cry themselves and pray if they do survive in this nightmarish of a game. It's now phase 6. Does continue to shift further forward. Team Savage are still alive, and when you look towards Team Savage as well, we said they were in 15th position. This is their best game so far, really, Tarzan here. I mean, the next best game was on Erangel, 5th position, 2 kills yesterday. We did get a lot of those points. 1 more placement point above that. They're already starting to really surge ahead, as well as Triple Sports Club back to the form that we kind of expected.
Well, to be fair, Team Savage got that compound in the zone like continuously, and they kind of rely on these quite a lot as well. So I want to see them with a different style spell in the midst of all these action. Will fall at 5th place, and Gaijin made it in. Like, to be fair, when it comes to those positions before, they were the only team that can be sensibly coming in slightly later because they've got elevation, I would say, and also those vehicles and protection, and now they're in here. But before we know it, Triple has landed themselves 10 kills.
10 kills for Triple, and I was almost tempted to say earlier that Triple, they were one of these teams that we expected to be high kills, high games, but I'm not so sure, and I was hesitant to say that because of their group stage result, but albeit in this game, they're back in the smurfing. They'll take now another. Naz takes down Premix. The Snowboy also go to drop as well. And Triple, they push their way in. Another 2 knocks for them. Nade's coming over, but it's just a little bit too short. Shonu does get knocked again. Now Lord of the front side. They need to step up, guys. They have not played as a team so far just yet. We need to see that coming through from them, but they are inside the final 5. They do have, more importantly, this zone. Now it is Gaijin's turn to see if they can defend it. The teamwork is there.
Extremely hard though, that circle already is closing. These teams on that western side will be so glad that they still got vehicles in this now spray time. So many of them need to shoot through it. Nas trying to shoot through the smoke, almost take that knock onto Gaijin, but Conqueror won't have, they've got 3 more games to live, but this one will be a wrap for them, and that will be RB using some very good maneuvers as well. It's almost basic at this point to be able to sit in the car, in the smoke, and to get extra info.
Extra info, however, we do give her sound cues away, so unfortunately here we do give a little bit more over to Uncles, and they're able to strike down with that potentially something. Smile is cooking those grenades, is going to send it onto Naz. It could have been a little bit of a peak, but it's going, no, it goes too short. We did not get a right angle, and again, near Gaijin. Meanwhile, we take down Team Savage. Another Rupo who got a little bit too far ahead, a little bit too hasty for his team. And now they too down to only 3 players, but 10 kills so far for Triple Sports Club. They just need to get that little extra bit precision inside of the zone, because that phase 7 Tarzan is starting to close up, and you can see that pressure hitting on to also Uncles. They get knocked. Uncles trying their best. They knock one back onto Albi, but they're giving their spots away inside. They're giving their positions inside away, but Sceptives also under fire. Gaijin takes another, albeit away from the rest of these outlying teams. And Gaijin is defending, but only to the advantage of all of everyone else fighting each other.
Very tricky circle, right? And it's good practice for these teams, like to know how to manage their backpacks. Finding enemies through those grass is very, very essential. And sometimes we see some of these teams getting too excited and stand up and just having sprayed down by multiple teams and players. And we'll have that phase 8 coming in after 15 seconds. Team Savage goes out at 4th. We've got 3 more. It's going to be a 3v3-2, and the Gaijin might be having the big game finally.
Gaijin's turn. We've got 8 kills so far. They did wipe away Team Savage. Team Savage, their biggest game though, Tarzan, they've had all finals, and now also Triple Sports Club looking for their biggest game. All finals, El Chapo getting only a 1-for-1 trade. They don't confirm a way to kill. That is crucial, is they don't give an extra point to Triple. They go back for the heal, but in phase 8, is a heal the best decision? Scepters takes down Shonu. I don't think Triple are quite done yet. It's now another of Uncles goes down, maybe turns their head towards a solo, does try to first down Smile. They give away more of their position, however, and they focus too hard on the outliers. Gaijin wipes through Triple. Now only it's Gaijin's turn to clean up what has been started. There goes Smile. El Chapo's back, but they're so low. Braid as well gonna fall. There's a clean sweep. Gaijin with their first victory, and again Gaijin stepping up, Tarzan, considering that they did horrible in that first game. It is a completely different side of the coin.
Well, it's that type of incident that would push you to work so hard to prove yourself, right? And to be fair, like after those first 2 games yesterday, they're coming in stronger, right? We've got a 3rd place with 5 kills and a 4th place with 4 kills in games 3 and 4 respectively yesterday. And now with the chicken dinner, maybe this team is on their way up, but we don't expect anything less. I know that sounds harsh, but after all, they represented our region in PMPL Europe West in Season 1, so they should be in contention to repeat that showing again. Of course, a little bit harsh this time. Only 1 out of 16 gets to it. Strictly speaking, 32, but a lot of them are gone already. So we need to see who will be able to do it. What an interesting game where we get to talk about a lot of those basics. We talk about, the more landscape specific stuff, and Gaijin with the 28-point win, but Triple also on the way up.
Triple, I love this coming through from them. The fact the uncles also, as well as Team Savage stepping up, even Conqueror, this was a rise in a lot of those teams who were starting today in that second page of the leaderboard. And we said, well, maybe can they really get ahead? Well, they start to show that, and they definitely are here to play. They're not quite out yet, and that was a wake-up call for them yesterday into today's games. I think that also to the extent that the rest of Syrax, TSC falling down on the top, there was a missed opportunity as well from the rest of those at the top who also did not do as great themselves. And I think that was one of these games where had they actually done well, like TSC 1802, this could have been one of those games where you start to challenge Syrax. Instead, it's only going to be more of an equalizer of that leaderboard.
I think it's important to know that some of these teams, although they didn't get those double-digit points, they came through with some team fight wins. Like they've got something to place into the pocket and say, you know what, we will keep that. That was still good. So it's tricky, of course, like when it comes to the psychology of that, like maneuvering through. And you know what, 3 more games to go, very different game 2. So we already set the scene before this one. We thought about Hartin, of course. And the other one to talk about would be what I initially thought would be a boot camp issue. But now we've got TSC Legends actually dropping into Quarry, and I've got a little bit of a tricky fight in the surrounding of Quarry against Example UK. And we talked about how, where are those off angles? So that thing may repeat, and there's more than that, right? We've got a lot of potential action coming through. It's still that adaptation, and the last thing to say for Sanhok to set the scene would be that eastern side. It's been so empty yesterday, I think some of these teams might want to take it.
Sanhok away just after a short break, Tarzan, as we'll see you guys then. We're here once again, everyone, for the PMCO UK finals and back after what was a Game 1 win and a massive finish here for Gaijin Seraphim. Considering that we wanted to see more, we saw just that Tarzan, but I'm excited to see if they are on that rise because they are on that upwards trend.
Yeah, you know what? Like those sort of circles, you really need a lot of resources to come through. Of course, you need those basics, right? Like managing a backpack so you can take it off, shooting through grass and smoke, predictions, audio cues, all that stuff. But Gaijin took a very center position in the earlier phase of the game, and I think that was incredible. That's very important, keeping this car safe, saving yourself some utilities, as opposed to fighting in the open and saving your own life. Like Arena51 maybe just burn 10 smokes already before the sort of Gaijin even need to peek out of the building, right? So that is something to think about. And it's not easy. Sometimes you say you just settle for an edge compound. You don't want to over-rotate. Maybe that's the reason, but sometimes you need to start scouting a little bit earlier. I think that was where that pacing from that mid-game started that allowed Gaijin to have eventually taken that win.
Taking that win, albeit, but also I think a massive rise for that leaderboard. We saw it earlier on that yes, it is going to be a lot of those lower placed teams, Tarzan, who do climb up this time around. And I think that we are going to see now, as we said, that leaderboard solidify itself a lot closer in between all of these 16 squads, albeit still Syrax are in that lead, but only because a lot, as we said, of the rest of all of these top teams also did poorly. And maybe, as we said, that missed opportunity from the other lower class teams of this leaderboard to be able to rise to the top. However, Sanhok as well, up next, another one of those really trivial maps when it comes to who really can do well on it. I think that yesterday we probably looked towards it, and yes, again, look towards those who are playing aggressive, but again, that smart aggression as well coming through.
Yes, definitely. And I think I still am very excited, very fixated on those possible adaptation from those drop spots, because I think there's so many on the line, so much. Like you think about how they may feel if, just hypothesis, right? First huge game for Triple Sports Club, and we've got finally coming back stronger towards the end of yesterday for 777. Whichever team crashed and lost, that could be a huge hit to confidence and momentum, and you just need to find it in the remaining 2 games, and then before you know it, half of your finals 4 days are gone.
Already, though, they do have to consider that do they get through with that second win? Because, of course, when you look towards that second win, it was actually KurdVictory who stepped out on top. KurdVictory not having really the best of games, but we still were able to perform a little bit better than a lot of those top place teams, so we still continue to climb. I think that probably now you're looking towards if Gaijin, yes, can continue that momentum, but as well if the likes of Uncles or the rest of Triple Sports Club can continue that momentum. In fairness, though, on the other hand of that is the fact that Uncles and I think Triple, they also made some mistakes when it came to that end game. And I think that is also representative of their position for that first day of play.
Definitely. Need to look at some match or map specific stuff, right? So quick recap yesterday. We've got a Northwestern Circle. Teams went crazy. So let's see whether we got the same thing today. I think playing path is going to not affect that much unless it's very, very crazy, but it will be down to those circles. Papa Blue, as always, for Sanhok.
Papa Blue is something else when it comes to these jungle, so Tarzan, and also this playing path going to center itself through for now on those southern islands. And I think, to be fair, also to these teams, we didn't see, yes, a lot of fighting early, but not so much fighting in terms of the way of teams really positioning smartly. I think that a lot of fights that came through from Sanhok yesterday, there were really the unawareness of other squads not appreciating the positions of other teams.
Yeah, but you know what? They appreciated the mini-map for sure yesterday. Long Night all the way down vertically towards docks were empty. And because it was so empty, it attracted several teams right here. We can see excuse, should I say, example UK, going back to Corey, but TSC won't be contesting. That would take stocks, and Cave instead, Triple Sports Club will back away from Hartin, and they would take a huge split around Lakawi and Kampong. And you know what? No hard feelings there. I think it's a great adaptation and can rotate along that coastline and maybe be the kings of that eastern side so they can dominate and always get those loot, get into those power positions. And this is a little bit tricky, though. I think for the side of RESQ to be on that coastal line, of course, historically a very strong squad, but they've got 4 other teams on that island, and that will be a bit tough to fight through. They need to just use their best ability, as always, and see how they can possibly win this game.
Also, when you look towards the positions, I do believe it was Syrax and also Wizard on the north portion of mainland Sanhok, and you look at how they can gatekeep a lot of those teams on the northwestern bridge as well. And actually, do they have that aggression still of them? Yes, we've seen Syrax not so well though in that first game, and Wizard, they've been pretty poor when it comes to their aggression so far in the finals, not alike them at all. And now we've got to see them try push that aggression forward, those kills forward, because if they don't, I think they're missing out on a very core opportunity to stop, as you said, a lot of these squads who did rotate so far northwest, considering the zone as well has really given a little bit more leeway to those teams coming out from the northwest island to be forced into them.
Very interesting thing coming through here. Like Conqueror, they were a Ruins team, and this time round they just kind of drop onto Team Savage, and Team Savage were that team. 2-2 split, 2 still on Northwestern Island. The other 2 got pushed out of the trifecta, and this time, Conqueror wants to chase this, and that will be actually that third-person peak and high ground advantage going over to Powerboy and the rest of Team Savage. The support can come in, but I think it's a bit tricky to find the angle from quite some distance away, right? So that will be Denoka actually slowly bleeding out potentially, and that will be a little bit of that rotation in. The zigzag should allow a little bit of that Overwatch to maybe get the opening as well. We always talk about how, you don't need to just do one thing. You can have the scout plus the opening plus the bait. Should I say the other way around? Scout, that is also a bait that allows you the opening. That's better.
Oh man. However, albeit better for Conqueror. However, Team Savage, they are on a high ground though, so we do have the information slightly better. And look at that flank rotation though, how we're coming out. There is a solo player of Team Savage that has tried to come from 180. Maybe actually 2. Is Yuri and Shadow Bear together. And that Conqueror got a little bit more complicated position on their hands. And keep in mind, this is also Conqueror's position that they do play and they are very capable of playing. However, I think it also has been to the deficit. They do lose players early on when they play in this certain location towards the L compound, when they play towards these bridges in the early state of the game. And I think that definitely Conqueror, this is something you have to clearly improve, and they are going to be tested, considering that they really aren't the ones with the gun in the hands, to be fair, when it comes to this fight. Conqueror, they are being sandwiched.
I think the side of Team Savage got pushed over to this eastern side of those L compounds, the trifecta, and they were able to go out, but the chase did come through. Denoka did get picked up. The key thing now is whether Conqueror knows that the side of Team Savage are trying to sandwich them with a 2-2. Like, if they've done the homework, they would know that Team Savage just split around here every single Sanhok game. So, that's something that we need to look out for, and I hope they are really looking for it. And I'm just looking at the top right there. Seems like those small triangles and arrows are showing that they are aware of potential threat from that western side. So that's at least something that's done well.
Team Savage, they do hold in for now, and I like this coming through from both of these teams. Just now, I think there is more about the looting phase, so, and I think the teams, both of them here, probably, especially Team Savage, need to probably just abandon this fight. I feel they have been here since literally 2 minutes in the game. They're not going to have the loot in hand to be able to deal with an extended Sanhok match, and as a result, you can see them both from both ends going to go away. This is the best option for them. Yes, they don't get the kills. Yes, they don't get those extra points. However, This could be an interesting rotation, and don't go across the bridge. And now also Conqueror are slightly beginning on that chase. But I do feel that there also the rest of Team Savage made overall the decision to take that loot, and that's what we wanted to see. Teams respect and understanding that you can't always push your current position. However, I don't think they had to lose that car. I think they could have still gone across that bridge, and they lose out on a core vehicle, but it could be very important to them had they had it later on.
Could have been a mistake, like could have been lagging, like some people would say. And this time around, though, RESQ rotating along that coastal line, I think they have some ideas. Like with the experience of the team, I think they know that there could have been some fights around Heartin, right? So if they rotate around it, they may be able to third party it, and they can still jump into the water if things go bad. But this time around, Arena51 actually in close proximity, and just looking at that position, and UV already crossed, and that will be him needing to do the job. And Arena51 very aware of what could happen based on previous positions, so they are probably just waiting for any Heartin team, whether it was one or two, to come over to this side for this particular circle. BVOV maybe having another rough game, we don't know, but example, UK, definitely a team that can take these early fights with some crazy aggression at times.
Yes, they've just not had that aggression, Tarzan. I mean, to be fair, example, UK, we've not really been the team that we kind of eyed up coming into that finals of PMNC, and not really the team that has been able to step up. I think that also, to be fair, that they also are a team that don't really play aggressive, and they may be feeling a little bit out play styled here by a lot of aggression from other squads. However, you have to be able to adapt, and if you want to go to that PMPL, you have to prove that. And unfortunately, for example, UK, they have struggled to do so. As also we did see in that kill feed, Arena51 also going to get a knock against them to the hands of Syrax, and Arena51, another one of these teams who, coming from, of course, PMNC, looked like they could have performed, didn't quite, they barely made it 16th position into these finals, but they're still 16th in the finals themselves, and they are still yet to prove themselves also.
And I love this fight, right? We know this cliffside to the north of Quarry is very textbook, but sometimes it can contain more than one team. And it's often for the team that arrive first to set up, they can only pick a side, and they always have the north to worry about. Quarry teams coming from that east can be very lethal too. So this is the problem. I think coming here first is incredibly important, but know how to make use of that position is more so. That is Icy trying to open that one, but no one could be there to trade 1-for-1 for now, but the reset should come through for BVOV.
And unfortunately, for example, with Syrax Split, but we find also B4V, they went a little bit too far, and double for Naka. Oh, as now Naka steps up, tries to carry Icy, just needs to keep himself alive. Maybe we can keep everyone in this game. Rekko trying to find it off the backside, but instead only going to be a nade, self-nade. Naka takes down Icy. Was that a mistake, potentially? Probably it was, Tarzan, but they had to still redeem themselves. Abby going to dodge out another one of Example's grenades. Only goes down to half HP. Down the bottom end of the hill still lies a really struggling Kryzen. Left to themselves. Tries to find the rest of the knocks, but only one isn't enough. Naka does take the rest of the fight. 4 kills, but again, did they have to lose Icy? Not the cleanest of fights from Example UK.
I think that's the issue with that landscape, right? Like, it's so hard to decide how to split around it. They definitely are split in the way to play Western control. So sometimes it's about finding the best rock to hold. And then you need to be able to respond very quick. But if you're all responding, then it can leave multiple of your teammates, vulnerable. And that is the problem. With that position, and we will see whether there's another team to come in to challenge that after it's somewhat close to that center zone. That northwestern side is looking pretty juicy right now. We've got Syrax around there, Arena51 still in there, got no spot in the circle. RESQ, like we mentioned earlier, might just be a little bit slow to come in, but Arena51 actually get caught off guard. There is a gatekeep after gatekeep. That is Arena51 having a taste of the medicine that they didn't get to serve to some other teams.
Still, Arena51, they do have to be very wary. There's going to be one of their players inside the water, and you do know that they are being spotted by Scythe, so Arena51, they do need to really not only come back with also the rest of their second player, but we need to come out with some placement points because they are in danger of just really being forgotten in these finals is my biggest mistake I potentially could see coming through from Arena51 because they are so passive and not in the higher kills. There's nothing really shining about them, which is sad to say, but at the same time, it is the brutal truth of the leaderboard. They just need to be able to step up and need to be able to play more as that team. And as we said, aware of their positioning on these maps.
Extremely hard. I hope that the way that we've been talking about these games potentially help them. I think that is all that I can hope for. And this side, RESQ, definitely have that good synergy. Like we've seen it yesterday, we've seen it all split, and now we're hoping that they can do the same. And Gaijin this time around will challenge the side of triple with the opening knock and that. But it's not easy, Plateau, to charge up when you are not there to set up first. So that can be Nas holding that top position, front, I should say, to spoil this push for Gaijin.
Triple, they better not get that revive in on time. RB going to be back up, and the rest of Gaijin Seraphim, they are getting closer. However, they're getting a little bit closer indeed, as now Lord will walk over, but a green grenade, onto pre-mixed, forces now to revive. Settings looks for a second. Do they find with the extra knock even a third? Gaijin, maybe. They wish he didn't take this fight. Now Logan's going to be confirmed away. Lord should be next. And the rest here at Gaijin, a little bit of tatters because of wide split. Only going to be the solo left, barely alive. Willful finally a clean fight through from triple, and it just played that better.
Exactly. I mean, they held that position. They know how to play it. They set up. They had the patience. The nades were synchronized. Those 3 knots came through within 2 to 3 seconds. That's how they could wrap that one up. Beautiful play right there. Arena51, though, aren't having as much luck.
Oh no, unfortunately the blue zone's gonna surely pick them up, if not Syrax first to take one-on-one trade. Where's the rest of Syrax? Is there any hope now for Demon inside the blue? You don't really imagine so. Of course, Bu is already knocked, and with Hype going to be behind a tree, there's nothing really that can come through for Demon. He does have to continue healing. The bandages won't be enough. I think we also come to the blue. I think that is the best decision for them because there isn't any way out here, Tarzan.
Well, they had the plan. They picked for one that was a little bit hard to close out. And like most plans, you need to give it some time constraint. And that is Arena51 failing to do that. It goes out now. They will once again get 0 points and they will sit at 10 points. And the team that's above them is, wow. Yeah. And there's it. That's it. Syrax, 6 kills on board. Controlling this side very, very nicely done, and won't be stressing it either. Just waiting for that support with that side angle. There's no need to challenge with those peaks. That is a very good paced early game for them.
I think just giving it an unnecessary kill there is no way to escape. Yes, you're kind of hoping that a team will fall out before you, but you need even more than just really one team to fall out before you if you want to pick up even more than those one placement point. Even 1 point doesn't matter. Instead, you're just giving one over to Syrax instead, who are already so far in the lead. And you know if you give that to Syrax, then you're only going to hinder your chances of getting a PMPL spot. A slight mistake, I think, again from Arena51. I hope that they can improve. There is still 2 more games to play today, and there is still options. There is still chance. I mean, we talked about, well, Syrax picking up those crazy amount of points in 2 games. Maybe we see a complete turn of Arena51 is to be determined. Time Savage, though, however, also turning it when it came to that first game, also stepping up. I also wanted to hint, though, at the fact, and this is what really interested me, was in that game 1, because we saw so many of those top teams eliminated out early on, was it just the fact that because there wasn't any of those better teams remaining, that we just saw the rest of these lower placed teams be able to clean up the points?
Wow, that's a very hard question. I would say it could be the first game effect, like coming through, and some of those skirmishes are just, you know what, I kind of have an idea. Like some of these top teams been fighting each other early game, so even if they survive, they came in with a bit of a low number of players, and that can have a huge issue. And we see this side though, TSC opting in for a different split, and hard drop spot. pretty far from the zone. If you don't have some vehicles, it could be hard, and just constantly trailing teams means you need to find the best time to open fire. And even if you do, the fight doesn't end early enough, then you might just be left outside of the circle, tanking longer than you need. Waiting for this next shift, we will go over to the space between Bootcamp and Paradise Resort.
As resort, but Triple Esports are not going to be able to be there to see it. As Spill will clean them 6 kills and they keep everyone alive. Gordish, Lakrita, they will be revived. That zone not going to be enough to engulf that final 4th member of Spill just quite yet. But we are one of the first teams out of zone. TSC also making a little bit of a risky play. Euphoric strikes down to Nokovo en route. And Jaja maybe would have helped now. Is it going to secure themselves that first kill? But we had to be careful because they have really pincered themselves here. And yes, they take that initial knock, but where do they move from here? You have to be so careful of this because Ari, Snowboy, Hisoka, they have that exact location of you.
Well, it's going to be hard. I think the key thing right here is for Conqueror to maybe take some action in here, right? To maybe get these 2 kills without suffering any further casualties. But that is the problem, though. They need to think about it. This landscape is hard to play around after a third-person peek is there. And Jar Jar and Euphoria, you can't toy with these guys. They can really just take out your head. And that is GG. Like, very split position. We'll have teams coming in from this edge as well. So it's this time of fight that you need to wrap up earlier. Second knock for Denoka, to say the least, and that will be him gone.
Power Boy as well, gonna get knocked through from TSC Legends, sorry, should I say. They're taking through. Only going to be another. And I think with TSC Legends, they have, of course, picked that position inside their zone. It's a brilliant position. In fact, because of that crucial knock into Noka, they can actually effectively gatekeep all of these squads. Yes, they don't have the players for, but as long as they don't both really get put down low, or one of them really gets knocked to a point where we had to give up that position for the meantime that we make that revive, TSC Legends, they're free just to keep on pinching Conqueror against the likes of Team Savage moving in. Unfortunately for Conqueror, because of that crucial knock into Noka, it's all started to go terribly wrong for them.
Hard one. I mean, it's been hard for this team. Like, someone needs to step up. We know how they can play if just one guy steps up. Right, and this time around, it will be down to those comps. Like, the plan still needs to be here. And I don't disagree with playing this edge, because like I mentioned before, when it comes to Sanhok, sometimes there's always those 1 or 2 guys. Yeah, they're still in the blue. And that is where you can get those 1 or 2 extra points to make the difference. That zone will be very hard for you anyway for some of these shifts. So if you have vehicles, that would be great. And that will be much needed. If there's anyone who wants to take that central compound, it's time to do that. Snowboy, without the trigger discipline, will just fall in this one.
This is a 2v1. I think this is mistakes time and time again as well, coming through from Conqueror, not really playing as a team task, and it costs them. You can see this is a team game. Forget the solo carry potential. If it can't be that cohesive squad, how can they really hope to find enough points to take out a likes of Syrax, who are already still charging in this match? 1802 still trying to charge in this match, but it's a tricky fight. Of course, Spill, none of these fights, none of these kills really confirmed just yet. About, however, Spill 2 more knocks, but a little bit trickier this time. Phase 5 inside the blue. You got to expect someone's got to fall, and now 777 rescue as well. Got to find one. There's also, it's going to be a trade for trade. TSC Legends all going to be eliminated. 1802 wiped down as well. Spill, Conqueror also going to be wiped.
Very tricky zone. Everyone sets up already. With run and gun, you just need to have a 360. Come up with some sort of formation and then enter. You can see the song 1802 will suffer from 2 knocks right now. Actually, last guy standing will be cute, and not quite cute the way that he dies out at 9th, failing to get more than 1 placement point.
The uncles as well, they are still here though. They had what was that 2nd position in the first game. They're not too low on that leaderboard. There's still potential when it comes to them getting up top, but I think they clearly need these big games. They need these big pointers to be consistent. They've already got one. They do have all 4 players alive, but there's more than could be said than a lot of these other teams. Broken advantage. Wizard Esport inside the blue, trying to harm those chances, but it does strike down Dragon anyways. That Money's not far enough, and El Chapo, with the help of his team, they grab themselves that second position. And also, look who's dead. Syrax going to be wiped away once more. Wizard also now wiped, making now potentially Spill next on the board. However, is there also Alex gets wiped away as well, and it's going to be Kelly Boy to go for the heal strategy, but phase 6 out inside the blue is not going to be for long. 777 also getting knocked now by Uncle's UK. El Chapo on that spree, and suddenly they're already up to 3, potentially a 4th is now 777 fluster over to their knocked man, and albeit give up the position to Rescue, who actually with all 4 players alive themselves, a much stronger position inside this zone if they can only get to that hill.
Wow, Naka with 7 kills before we knew it. That is just insane. And the start of Rescue as well. We thought they're so far from the zone that they can't get in, but Full Squad is now in town. And that is the Uncles using the position to continue striking. 777 as well, living into this phase 6 and now making it to top 5. Would that be the bounce? They need a bit more, but 7 kills on board.
777, 7 kills, as you say. All the 7s, all the luck. If they need his uncles, they too hold up. Phase 7 now has hit. It's gone towards Rescue. Rescue, they do need to hold a little bit longer. Is now another one will drop. Kelly Boy for Spill produces us to our final 4. 12 points in total for Spill this game. His uncle, they still need to cross that road. You gotta feel that they are the next to fall Tarzan out of all of these remaining 4 teams. Example UK though, they are also alive. They are resulting to that healing strategy. There they drop as well. 3rd for Uncles, it should be. I think the Rescue probably can close out this game. It just need to be a little bit patient. They don't want to take 2 fights at once.
Oh no, not the time to peek as well. That circle coming in, and that will be a little bit of mind game as well. So much cover for Rescue to play. There's no need to go into the zone. There's a little bit of a spray game, and then they've got a few more meters to cover. So those may be where they die, but we can see they are having that advantage in these pre-shift sprays so far.
777 down to 1 remaining player. UV is trying to defend. Is not enough. They drop, but not before Uncles drop first. The 2nd place for them. We're predicting it right so far, but do Rescue take that game? 7 kills already at Nade onto top. Oh, if only it bounced one more time, Taz, and that would have been a triple onto the triple team themselves, and boom, there it is. That is a luck through from Rescue that you expect. That is a game that we expected here from Rescue. And Tarzan, I am very, very excited to see what this team can really bring when they are in form, because it looks so beautiful.
It's also on Sanhok, when they pulled off that style of rotation, when they're so far from the zone, but they found the perfect timing to sweep and to come into this last with a full squad. That is insane. Like, you need a lot of good, experience and skills to really just break your way through when you play that edge style. And we know that they are good at that. But man, that was a great win.
Match rankings here as well. Tarzan Rescue, of course, taking their first position, 24 points. Dual 7-0, also up with 19. And Uncles again stepping up when it counted. Example UK stepping up when it counted as well. Syrax, so 8 points for them. And I think for Syrax, as long as they get these little bit nitty bits of points, then Syrax is still keeping that lead, albeit it's shrinking, but they're still getting the lead that they need to at least try to survive, because TSC, who were a little bit further ahead of 777, and of course much further ahead than Rescue, they're also doing badly, so they don't really have to worry about that immediate 2nd place, probably now 3rd as a result of 777's game to here, and Sanhok, that really would overtake them.
But we talk about that point difference as well. We talk about, triple esports being in contention for that, right? So when you have a game, although 8 points for this game wasn't too bad, but to have a competing squad and team to take 10 points more than you, or 10 plus more points, right? That is quite some difference there. So after all, it's still extremely volatile. We can see TSC Legends with the adaptation, maybe out of respect, but not easy to enter from there sometimes, down to those very, very small things. And Gaijin just went back down in this one. And you know what? That was just Sanhok. Yeah, and there's nothing more to say about it, but other than RESQ OP in that game too.
RESQ are back on form, and of course, Gaijin taking it first match means, of course, our finals here were from those two finals team themselves. But I mean, to be fair, Tarzan as well. Very exciting when we come towards those overall standings. And I think we're probably really looking at now, probably can RESQ find that consistency? Can they be able to break to that top? Welcome everyone here back to the PMCO UK Finals 2021 full season. Myself and Press Tarzan here alongside you for the final 2 games, but also with our sponsor Xiaomi, where you can enjoy that super fast and lag-free Pubg mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G. But powerful equally coming through from RESQ, taking that chicken dinner in Sanhok, Tarzan, with all 4 players alive by the end.
Still can't really digest that one. Pretty crazy. We talk about how hard it is to rotate through if you're so far from it, because the zone can be so hard to break through. But they came in with a full squad. I don't know how. I would assume that is from good map knowledge as well. Otherwise, you don't know your line of entry. How do you thread the needle? It's going to be pretty hard, but they delivered anyway, and they will make that part of the leaderboard around that top part very, very interesting.
Albeit now, of course, Syrax, yes, they were able to grab those points, but probably not going to be as far ahead as we predicted coming into their Miramar match, which they won yesterday as well. And I think also TSC Legends slightly falling down, considering also how well they did yesterday in Miramar too. Potentially now we see that rise, because particularly Uncles, one of these teams who has been forming so far, Tarzan, well, when it comes to these first 2 games, a second and a third place finish for them.
It's very hard right now to predict anything. Like all these teams, even though they are kind of at the top, that gap is no longer huge. Yes, we know Syrax Esports got themselves some buffer, but I don't think it's strong enough at all. Like when we look at 777 Esports, 68 points, and we just look down to that, 9 points below them. We've got Gaijin Seraphim. We've been grilling them so hard yesterday. Yes, they got 1 chicken dinner today, but that is uncomfortably close, right? So that is the leaderboards right there, man. And to say 1802 being at 40 points, that's also weird. Like, expect more from them, but considering how almost stealthy they've been playing and they made it to top 8 with 40, that's a bit weird.
Also, just the fact that Gaijin, I think just something with the synergy there just feels a little bit off. Yes, they got 59 points. But honestly, Tarzan, it feels like they're not really at a 59-point mark game. I think they've really been lucky when it comes to them having some of these big high-score games in terms of placement points, really defending themselves, also picking up a lot of kills in that first game, considering that that is probably about half of their kills so far, that they have gained all 6 games. So it is a little bit skewed when it comes to these overall standings, I think, compared to actually how Gaijin have been performing. Uncles as well, though they're stepping up now from 10th to 6th position, continue to rise, as we said, with their consistency. Not so much, though, for some of the teams like Conqueror UK, who are now in trouble, because even teams like Savage also rotating up in terms of that leaderboard, already doubling now their position points they had from yesterday in just 2 games today.
Well, after all, Conqueror UK is a squad that showed us that they can take 75 points in 4 games. So we're just waiting for that to happen. It may or may not. I prefer that they do, because, to break down these big swings, big bounces are always one of my favorites. I almost want to dissect, their thoughts and the emotions behind to see what's going on. And sometimes that's the most interesting thing to do as well. But it's not just them that we're looking for. And we talk about maybe Born for Victory. They were a very aggressive and confident squad. I think they still play very confidently. But you can see, if you don't put some context to that aggression and some control, it can really backfire. And right now, they're sitting at a position, although that placement point and kill point ratio is a little bit better, 15 plus 16, still a little bit low in that leaderboard. So there's quite a few things for them to fix still. And you know what? That made me start with Arena51. Something is not quite right.
So it's not right at all, Tarzan, to be fair, Arena51. I said probably they're a team that get kind of forgotten in the finals, kind of are forgetting about them when it comes to them really being in these games, because they are just out so early on. I mean, Arena51, don't know what it is, because we know that they can clutch up when it matters. They clutched up to get into these finals initially, but then you wonder also, was it worth it? Were we better actually having one of these other teams inside the finals, like Most Wanted, who were surprise exits? Arena51, they did surprise us to get here, but we're not showing up. And I think really surprising, honestly, to see, considering that we expected more. from what we saw in the group stage, and also the fact that they didn't make Spring, and we're starting to see probably why.
There's a huge learning curve for this team, and we had the pleasure to watch them, and I had the pleasure to analyze them, to a lot of depth. And we can kind of see why. You can see sometimes, even for you guys who are watching at home, you could see some very, careless type of mistakes. Those crash up without scouts. Like, you can't always full send it, right? You need to have a little bit of backdrop. You need to have a backstop. You need to have a backup plan. And otherwise, just go back to where you came from and replan it. And they always get themselves into these positions, right? And they are stuck with one plan and struggling to transition into the next one, to do the next best thing. And I think that is what a lot of squads are struggling with as well. But Arena51 is showing that problem being in a very apparent and obvious way.
Arena51, maybe a little bit more obvious than some of the others. I think that probably you're looking also at a team like KurdVictory, who also took a chicken dinner so far in the tournament, not really having the rest of those 5 games that they played so far. A good position on this leaderboard, again, coming down just to some slight mistakes. And I think also when you look towards their positioning and the way that they were playing, even in that Sanhok game yesterday, I think that it should have gone towards them. I think that Born for Victory probably easily could have closed that out had they not made mistakes of their own. It comes to, again, just KurdVictory having that nice game where they weren't the worst team in that final zone, but also they need to be able to improve, because it comes down to team synergy. And team synergy is something I think has been lacking for a lot of these teams when it comes to that lower end of the leaderboard. And you can see it clearly in the way that they rotate, in the way that they split, in the way that when it comes to these fights, they don't seem all on that same page. They start to go meander away from each other, and then suddenly don't become a squad, they become 4 solo players.
Well, very well put there. And sometimes that is not the only struggle, and it's not the only challenge. Even if you have the right idea, when you have a courageous change, we talk about Sanhok just now with those adaptation coming through. TSC Legends over to Docs, this Triple Sports Club over at Lakawi and Kampong, and same for it's like Spill going towards the Eastern side. They've been listening. But you know what? Like, we'll give them a cookie for that first. But when it comes to executing it, it's still like a little bit tricky. I can't say that is a basically proof of them not doing their homework thoroughly. I think the courage is great, but it takes sometimes even longer to find how to properly play that. But no stranger for Miramar as we enter our game 3.
No stranger to Xiaomi, where you can enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience. The Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G TARs, and also this playing back at a center of sail straight through Los Leones. Going to come appear on the opposite end of Miramar as it does head through to El Pozzo and Monte Nuevo to close out. In yes, some of those northern teams are going to struggle just that little bit, who love Cruz de Val, El Azahar, but for the most part, we do see a lot of these teams who do drop towards the south side, and I think, albeit it has been a little bit conditioned into them, as we kind of joke about now, it's kind of a little bit of a meme Los Leones, but also the fact that really we expect a lot more because of that, because they have been so conditioned into playing on the south side. If they do drop here, you expect these to be clean, smart rotations.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite interesting, right? So there's a few teams. I see 3 segments of the map. So first of all, Team Savage can't touch to Akumada now, a little bit too far. So I want to see how they adapt to that. We will not see the contested drop over at Al Azhar between B4V and Arena51. Like, to be fair, it was 1 kill, like, fight within the city as they both respected each other and drew away. So that is something that we want to look out for. Seems like they're still heading towards a similar direction. But the third one would be around Hacienda Dapatron. We know RESQ went to San Martin, and then TSC Legends adapted to go almost to the north of Hacienda and basically killed the side of Conqueror UK early on. And this may be a repeat. Seems like all 3 teams will be heading towards there, and we have a very southern early circle.
But already series of kills here is 777. KurdVictory already KVE going to lose 1. Unfortunately, a car really not improving when it comes to those solo players, getting split off, dropping down into Musera for 3. Actually, make it they are only a trio. Solo real drops here. You got Tequila all the way down to the opposite side. Wexer was up there, but not really able to actually support their teammate when he did begin to get crashed upon. And just a better rotation here, 2-2 split coming through from 777. Yes, of course, they have that initial advantage. You can do that 2-2 split, and it's always going to be harder for KurdVictory with only 3 players, but can't really blame the players when you all have 4 players coming into this tournament.
Well, they're grieving this. I mean, they've got only 3 players, and they're dropping on top of 777 Esports. Still their record holder from a 19-kill chicken dinner on this particular map. It starts on the side around Jumasera, and to challenge that is... I'm not saying that you can't. You need to come in with a very solid game plan in how to really unplug
not
this
3
team.
solo drops.
Yes, and that is so hard. You can't really support each other. And to be fair, sometimes how it end up to be huge splits between the players are an adaptation is like, oh god, they're taking our position. You just float away, and before you know it, you are in positions that can't help each other. Seems like this would be the case. Could still be the team that lose their life first. But this is my question, right? Let's make a short bet. Can 777 take out the last 2 players of KurdVictory without losing a single player? Because I for sure know what Jumasera has to offer and how it can really punish those who, like anywhere in this game to be fair, to punish those who are a little bit over-aggressive.
Like I said, shoots the wall there. Does get a little bit too hasty on 777 Esports. That's not the right target. And now 777, they do potentially know where that shot came from because it was pretty darn loud. And they do move back down, trying to reposition here. Back towards, though, the rest of this map. And you looked at again towards really that northern end of this zone. The zone itself did shift further south, but towards Picardo, there is going to be a fair lot of congestion over there. And I think Picardo, one of always these interesting locations, because I think the better the competition you have, the less exciting it becomes, because you don't really see teams lose to mistakes. Picardo staying too long, not really staying together when it comes to staying inside the center of Picardo. They start to get split, they start to get wiped from one angle, they maybe get too little bit of a bad rotation. But now, when we come towards PMC, I'm not saying that they're bad teams. We've seen great rotations from Picardo here in this tournament, but we have also seen some poor ones. And I think it's always interesting to know whether we get a good one or a bad one this time.
It's very weird. The fact that Tequila can come in and take one of the cars away, because I think that those are one of the first things, right? You kind of need to multitask in the early game. Keep track of your enemies, but at the same time, look at, never let go of your early game plan. You need those cars for sure, and then you just need to make sure you get them. It wouldn't be wrong to land on them and park it to the cover that you need, and that will actually be Tequila out. But Quexa still need more luck, and to be fair, just need to stay very stealthy. Don't give a single audio cue, and I would say, because I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of 777 Esports, right? If this is taking so much time, there's a chance that I would just let it go. But I need to go in a way that I can maybe respond if the side of KV does open fire, and they do. So Quexa need to really deliver if they want to take even a single kill. Hard one.
Yeah, did he really want this 1v4? That's the question. But round the backside, you can see the rotation trying to come through, but it's just not there in time. I think the Quexa really opened up too early in this situation. If you're gonna make that second man rotation around the back, give them some space, man. They gotta rotate around the entire compound, and Tequila, albeit they tried, Quexa just didn't want to survive, and we'll just get further down now. Tequila going in for the 1v4 as well. I mean, a Kurd really wanting just to die in this situation. Yes, you take down Sauron, but I think they're just trying to ruin away the rest of the triple. We do take now a second. They've done just that at least. A 2-for-2 trade right now. Tequila sets it back. Now a 1v2 situation, no, because KV, we started with only 3.
That is so messy. I was going to say, Tequila, what are you doing, man? And then 2 more of 777 are trying to do something borderline worse. When you have the info to come in, when you have to react to it, sometimes that's where your true synergy shine. Or should I say the true test to your synergy, right? And you can see they just came in, they all aggressive, but just to be slightly different when it comes to that level of aggressiveness, jumped out at the different times. Man, that is a bit of a grief, I would say. And that answers my question for sure. they are not getting out as a full squad.
Just feel that really was not necessary, Tarzan. I mean, a 1v4 situation, Tequila gives you a kill on a silver platter and you just lose 2 players off it. I mean, this is brilliant for KurdVictory because this is about as best it probably could have got.
Yes,
for them, to be fair. Does get that vehicle back into safety, back in control. And unfortunately, 777, just they show a slight mistake early on, and they're not really, again, positioned synergy-wise to actually be that full-man team, to take that 4v1 strength. And they do get just outplayed. Example, UK also towards El Pozzo are going to continue to move further down as that blue zone does, of course, engulf them. It was towards the south side. Phase 2, going to hit themselves up soon. And I always have this kind of tendency to feel that, example UK, if in this situation, them tanking the zone, do you really want to be tanking the zone so much early on? I mean, yes, of course, it is going to be fine to tank the zone, but personally, my playstyle is how I like to see, as you mentioned yesterday, the PMPL style of teams like to play, where you see them play towards the edge, but don't play in the blue, because they're wasting utility when it comes to healing if they're just going to constantly sit so far back.
Yeah, I think the way to see it for some people would be like, yes, it's just a few bandages and then it's fine. Like, there's not a lot of loot. But after all, every bit of resource that you use means that you have extra backspace that you may not be able to fill up later on. So that is the problem. Like, you don't want to enter to a fight when you don't have all the amount of resource that you have, right? So, but of course, when it comes to entering in a less predictable time, etc., like that is what we can call strategic tanking, especially if you plan a longer rotation route to go through somewhere that's unlikely to have any enemies, then that's fine. Southern Shift comes through with a little bit of bridge action, potentially. That is a bit of a far one to get, but we do have Los Leonos still in play, Chimacera also in play, and a lot of high hills, to be fair. In that middle zone, if we go down to that southeast, it really tests map knowledge, because some teams really exclusively go to that part of the map and still come in with some very good results. So we so far haven't seen a lot of that. Excuse me, that kill feed is popping up, and that is a little bit weird. Would that be the side of 777 losing their third player? That is insane. Like, you're already given the guy 2 points, which is basically a 7th place with no kills, and that is sometimes all that you're going to get. But they are just getting even more. 1802, though, need to show up even further, because they've been a bit stealthy since the final started.
2. They do have a lot of players around them. Wizard will be pushed back for now. Not so much so. Potentially here the side of the rest of Triple Sports Club. They are still alive and they are still kicking up towards that northern hill, and they have the position over 1802. But we have to really look at this zone, and this is what really interests me, is because I want to see where the positions are of these players versus this new shift and how Triple Sports Club match up. Because yes, they did have a higher ground, they seem to be moving back, suggests to me they're probably not comfortable with their position of zone, and also then to the position really of teams who are on that outskirts, like as we already saw, being Born for Victory taking one already down, unfortunately, to the play zone, and also we mentioned also example UK having to shift away in.
I think it's very key though. Like right now, unless you're predicting that the circle will go kind of towards you and then you can continually gatekeep a team, like when it comes to these type of across compound fights, it's so hard to get a confirmation of kill. It's almost like you need your enemy to be an absolute noob, or to have the change of situation where there's a third party team crashing the enemy where you've got the knot upon. Then it's very hard to get something out of it. You can damage some gear, of course, then you can fight them later. So it's only in that situation where you should, in a way, like open fire. Like if you're going to have a little bit of knots, fine. Like you damage their gear, like spend their meds, but it has to be not at your own expense, right? So it's very hard to work out the math there, and I think the play style would need to be factored in to see whether they can really capitalize on every single bullet there. I mean, that is a bit of far one to say every single bullet, but it could be the case. Like today, we've just been watching PMPL Arabia. Like today, we are not casting that one. So John and Black, look at the people going down to absolutely no bullets and needing to use a pan in final zone. That was pretty hilarious. So don't waste it. Don't waste it when you have it.
fair though, Tarzan, like, when you look at the rest of PMPL Arabia, they also don't carry all that much ammo. I mean, we said it ourselves, they're probably more utility-based, probably more nade-based. I mean, to be fair, they're excellent at it. I think that we're now looking towards these teams. Yes, they shouldn't run out of ammo. They tend to pick up more. It's just a style more of the Europe, the EU Western style overall. Is that so? No, it does shift down away from lots of going in phase 3 towards the south. It was starting to go on that southern shift, but I think even harder considering that now we're probably really looking at a position where you are trying to control these hills. You're trying to control these ridges. And I think those who have that high ground, who have that information coming in, particularly at the start of this third phase, makes it very, very crucial indeed, and a very crucial advantage to that series of players versus those playing down below, because as you can see, a team like Gaijin, they're just naturally able to push those like Spill out of the fight because they know that there is no way up.
Well, the Uncles and Triple Sports Club, both on the rise currently, but been lighting each other's up on that kill feed. So that is going to be hard for both teams. But this circling to the south side, Hyman Wolf, I think is really the test to a lot of these teams if they don't know the part of the map well enough. I know I always say that, but you can really tell the difference between a team that's intentionally trying to claim a spot from those who accidentally found a spot. Like, that is going to change so many things. And this time around, we can see 777 still around Shimasera the last time we saw them. So that is going to be a little bit of a hard one, and hopefully they can make it in here. The side of example team that went through Los Egos to come into this island, that is a great wide rotation, and the pacing has to be perfect. But this time around, Syrax in town against 1802, that is a 4v4.
Syrax still, though, they've not really had the games that they wanted. They kind of almost get to the end, but then they don't really finish it up. And I think with Syrax, when you look towards the Miramar game, they played it brilliantly in that yesterday's series and match, but not so much really today. And again, losing at 1, not before Spill will be the first team to drop finally. 16 reduced to 15. As 1802, they have found that knock, but we didn't confirm the kill, so it's back to a 4-man strength for Syrax, and now also Cable stepping further up as well. I think Syrax are probably really looking to just kind of hold this position though for now. You don't really want to take that fight because, again, the problem is, like how Syrax played it yesterday, you can be starting to be third party, fourth party, as this third phase does end, and particularly into the fourth if it does shift around you.
Well, tricky for sure. And I think I'm just going to draw away from that map knowledge point. I think it's really worth some of these players to, spend maybe one whole day and then taking some screenshots, to say the least. But this circle, just talking about playing what's in front of you, is very important. With what you can see from your position, you should know whether you should take a certain fight, whether there could be some third party, as we have most teams finding a spot for themselves. Still going to be scrappy. 1802 and Syrax need to reset up in those positions because multiple teams, especially from that eastern side, shall come in, and with the potential crash, 777 got into the zone now and will be able to find a spot. It's going to be a little bit crazy, I think, for this circle, with that main route separate in that middle, may cause another hard shift, and then many teams going to be like targets in training ground.
I mean, took the words right out of my mouth. I love the roads, and I love when you do really have a moat in between two castles either side. And unfortunately now, Syrax, their castle is going to be sieged, but by TSC Legends. Vitoni and Bruce are already taking their Cable, confirming away Scythe. This is the issue. We said that Syrax could be third parties, and because they weren't respectful of this, particularly with this shift, they weren't efficient enough. Now TSC, they take advantage of that, and I think the TSC Legends also potentially easily, with those 2 knocks, probably need to actually push this a little bit harder themselves, because again, now look who is coming behind. There's that 4th party stepping up, because there also Scythe was now finally caught up in that kill feed. We also see the rest of Arena51 dropping to Wizard on the north.
And that's the time that these adjustment and splits are so ever important, and a lot of these teams just don't seem to get the grasp of that yet. Like Syrax know that their position could get crashed, and it just happened. And you can see with their split coming through as well, didn't have to trigger the split and just get punished from multiple sides. So that is the reset of that I always talk about, and it's really hard to get down to. It's just a term. If you bang it out and say it out more, maybe they will understand the meaning behind it. It's just slightly more. Arena51 will continue to struggle. A 0-point game as they went out at 15th place.
Oh, man. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about Arena51 anymore. I think we said everything, to be fair. F is the right letter of the alphabet to give to them. That is true. It's TSC Legends. Also, you need to really be faster in terms of also a capital F for them, because again, now also a fifth party stepping up. Uncles on the northern side, but now yes, Triple Sports Club on the south, and they're trying to defend as best they can. I think, of course, Jaja is also stepping out to do just that. But Jaja getting caught out in the open, relying now on the smokes from Euphoria going on that long range, albeit the rest now of 1802 doing exactly what Syrax did here in the game 3 yesterday, which was just really step back, wait for everyone else to die who takes these fights in these short-range locations.
Well, you know what? Sometimes when you mention a player's name or teams, then that provoke a certain feeling or an emotion. Like, you should be scared of Syrax after yesterday, but now that we've seen them today or right now, I feel like I just remember them as the team through that group stage that was okay but not too shiny. So something might be going wrong there. I'm just reading into it too much. I'm just too full of emotions sometimes, maybe, as we're down to 42.
No,
42.
Never.
Oh, you know what? I would need to go back and think about that. I'm unsure. I need more point of view, but this circle still very, very interesting. I'd say we can see Team Savage is holding one of those spots that people may not dare to take, but they're just there anyway. They get the circle as well. But like, that is going to be so hard, because on that mini map, that is really suggestive for these teams. So you at least come around and have a look. That's when the side of Team Savage cannot slip at all and need to come up with the reset the plan once again. So that is how you need to hold that down. But TSC just get eliminated. That is like a matter of seconds, and they just all went out.
Yes, Syrax has stepped back. The nades found them all. TSC Legends, the Eagles,
wow.
The wings have been clipped, but now, unfortunately, all of them, they need to not be clipped by this blue zone, because realistically, Team Savage and Wizard, they hold all the cards in this Phase 5, Tarzan, because they're the ones with the compounds. I think, yes, there is a slight little bit of a hill. Up top is also Tequila, finds another. They grab a third kill for themselves. I mean, this is their solo upset. They reload, but can't get another. It's just instant deletion through from Bunzet, and now KurdVictory, their final stop has arrived. And 1802 also up to 1. But they lose. Down also 1 in this situation, where they're not really established inside of the zone. They've only got a broken shed, but there's no door to that shed, and they're vulnerable from our front side.
Well, that's a test that you have to face with Tequila. Ideally, or should I say theoretically, should only get no points, and he got himself 4, and that will be mission accomplished. And that will be 777 still needing to hold it down. Londa in good position to farm something, but yet to establish a spot in the circle. That main road continues to terrify these players, and when you've got hard cover, just make use of it for a while. Seems like that's the plan for 777. Many squads still need to come up with a plan, though. Example, UK had some decent gains, but this time round, not really finding the spot yet.
Barely. Icy does live. Team Savage, they can't molly them away just yet, as the smokes have come through. And now also Team Savage, the problem is they started to leave their compound, actually, Tarzan, and I wonder, is that a mistake? Because there are so many there, but I thought walls protection in this situation very, very crucial, and unfortunately they could start getting surrounded as a result because of that, with really no exit strategy back into their compound. Unfortunately though, however, as Uncles do take down one of 1802. They tried so hard, but not before Gaijin Seraphim also out in 11th as they will be fell to Triple Sports Club. Now Uncles are trying to finish down their second knock, but the revive has already come through, and now unfortunately 1802 will step into the bright world, those bright eyes of Uncles, but we step right back inside, as they do not want to do any tangling with those Uncle's members. Now RESQ as well, tangling themselves up against Triple Sports Club, but 2 already formed, and this is a dance that they will take, a victory that they will take as they knock away all the kills that they started. They take down the final one, Triple, and now also example, the next team's out.
The fight that just wrapped up within 5 to 6 seconds, that was insane. They heard the footstep and they just made the call and they got the wipe. That is the rescue that we remember. That is the rescue that we are expecting.
Now, though, RESQ up to 8 kills, Tarzan. 777 also fall into the zone, fall into Team Savage. Down to 7. I think also a little bit of a sleepy game for Wizards, who have had that northern side, but they were on the quiet side of the zone, and now they have that northern side again to open up into. You can see they're trying to spray down onto Conqueror. They give their position away, and I don't think the Conqueror really had spied eyes on them back. And I think of it, game Wizard, just on the outskirts of the zone, they needed to move a little bit further before they could probably realistically take those fights. They find one knock anyway, so, but one knock is not a kill, as they now take a second off onto Smile MVP. They try to confirm this one, but will they get behind the edge in time? No, they will not. Smile will be confirmed to their second kill. It is now also the Uncles completely eliminated. Nowhere to go, down to 5 already as Conqueror trying to make their moves further in. Danoka already dead as well. Ari already dead once more. Yes, it is right. Back into action, Hisoka, but Snowboy and them, they are the only 2 remaining, and that revive should not come through this time. Wizard, they have the control over Conqueror. Can they keep that control?
And to be fair, Conqueror, if they had their vehicles protected, they could have just driven up to the side of Wizard and keep 2 Overwatch, and they can be punished not just from them, but multiple sides. As you can see, 1802 still in close proximity. So that is still going to be possible. They made it to that slope though, so 40 meters from the circle, still possible to survive this after only lost Danoka and up to 4 kills in position, and now top 5.
Well, Beer is still alive, Tarzan. They've still got 3 players, and they're looking to try exit through 1802, but he finds one, crucially, but he won't find a second. He will be knocked. 1802 down in 5th. 11 points all they're going to garner. RESQ, though, on a spree once more. All 4 players alive, and they have that position inside of the zone. The Team Savage had Tarzan, and I think this is another repeat of Team Savage. A problem with their late games, as usual, where they don't defend their compound that is given to them. The zone's gifting it. But they go towards the center. They got to pray this phase 6 centers up because it goes back to RESQ, which it does. This is disaster for them.
Well, they still are in the circle, though, so I'd say I'll give them, you know, the benefit of the doubt. After all, tightening up the split is essential, and they choose to defend something that's slightly easier, so I can't really fault them for that. But right now, they better defend something here, because the plan's pretty simple. Make sure that they claim and control that eastern side.
But they let RESQ in, no, Tarzan, and that's the problem that I have, is that they let teams so easily into their area that now the problem for Team Savage is they're forced into this fight in Conqueror because they can't walk back. Because they walk back into RESQ themselves. So actually, as a result, Team Savage, the problems really lie in the fact that they restrict their own movements. Yes, there are some crates that will protect Team Savage for now in between them and RESQ, but albeit it's not a real extent to cover that RESQ really, or Team Savage really would like here, considering also these buildings, they don't have the windows on the side that Conqueror are trying to enter upon, and as a result, they can't take that fire as they come up in the ridge line. It allows Conqueror that way in, as well as Wizard taking no way into this game will just fall down in 4th.
And hard one for Wizard anyway. I think there's still some chance for Team Savage here, but after all, like we mentioned before, and it's exactly that impression of them. They can get some decent positions, they can come in when people are least expecting it, but then they don't make the most out of certain positions, right? And that is the issue right now. You hit the nail on the coffin there when it comes to their death and not holding that one, not having the window against the side that they need to defend is really, really true. So may just need to use something else rather than staying in. Like if you are staying in, you just need to be extremely stealthy. But the side of Conqueror UK, now that they've got momentum, they are back to knowing the basics. Opening the door would be important when nading, but to clearing these buildings, definitely done that homework.
Conqueror. They are inside 6 kills to take down Team Savage Shadow. This is, again, the rest of Team Savage just falling down. I feel like we're watching this every late game. Like, Team Savage just choke. At this point, we get to the 25 minute marker, and they suddenly just forget, like, actually how strong their position is. Snowboy, though, does get knocked in stronger position, though, for RESQ, who have only now gone and waited for this fight to ease a little bit for them, and now take their pickings of whoever they like. One already for them. As they then spread further in, they almost nade down Ari, pushing behind the edge of the zone. UV also going to be confirmed as 2-on-4, 1v4 as they take their second game. Surely, what can really Conqueror do? Ahsoka now going to die and rescue a second big game for them.
Well, beautiful, beautiful game. 29-point game from that one. And you know what? We don't expect anything less from them. The decisiveness, the efficiency of team fights, even when it comes to that last game, that last play, using of the ridge lines and then a good push formation come through as well. Just clean. We've seen so much hesitation coming through the region sometimes from these teams, but RESQ definitely reminded us like how they played and why they were the champions of that spring split.
I mean, RESQ, they're stepping up, and they're now, as a result, rising up in that leaderboard as well, because Syrax, again, perform poorly, Tarzan. The rest of 1802 performing poorly. TSC Legends performing poorly. And this is where it is crucial to know that even if you started in 4th position, they can really ramp themselves up into first. Match ranking says it all as well. Of course, 29 points for them. Conqueror also 19. Savage, yes, they grabbed 14 points, but I am really disappointed, more so than I would be with our teams with 14 points, just because, again, it comes down to the same mistakes we've been harping on about since the last tournament.
Yeah, I think that is the key thing, right? It's not about whether you just get some points or not. Like, of course, like if that helps you going into the last game of today, after which you will be officially done with half of the games for the finals. Yeah, if it's not for that reason, then... man, it's about whether and how you've gotten those points. Like, and that's the only thing that I've been talking about, like repeatedly. We've been harsh sometimes, and just based on pure analysis. And you can't just expect people to know or fear you if you've been getting those 10 points and like the majority, or even all of them, coming from placement points.
As well, unfortunately, as we said, TSC Legends, 777 as well, one of those teams that didn't perform so well, only 4 points for them once again. I do now really look towards a rescue. Can they now take back Erangel? Because actually it has been surprising in the sense that they're taking away Sanhok, they're taking away Miramar. It was the weakest maps compared to Erangel, and now they're coming on to the strongest. Had to see if it could take a triple, already a hat-trick in the second day of the finals, but that will be again a few minutes away. We'll see you guys on the other side. Hello everyone and welcome back to, of course, PMCO UK Finals 2021 full season. Myself and Tarzan once more. 3 games down, 1 to go, and 1 more game. But we have to acknowledge our beautiful sponsor, Xiaomi, where you can enjoy a super fast and lag-free Pubg mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G. Tarzan, I think, to be fair, we've seen another powerful performance from RESQ, so we do check out those overall stats as well and see how much you really have risen all the way up to second.
Very, very close now, and got a very decent 20-point buffer against 777 Esports. But here's the thing. I know Syrax is up top, but they got 79 points yesterday. So in those 3 games, they've only gotten 16 points so far. That is worrying, I'd say, because to have 2 huge games yesterday, and then fell down a little bit, like compared to RESQ, which is a team that had that previous, they had the name, they got the belt from the previous champions, and then now came in with 2 chicken dinners back to back. They are on their way to try to get the 3rd.
I mean, they've almost got their 3rd. In that first game yesterday, was stolen away, of course, by TSC Legends, 1 game to themselves. And I think for TSC, of course, they also have fallen. I mean, even 777 Esports, they've now overtaken them down to 4th. Also, their Savage continuing their rise, slowly getting towards that left side of the leaderboard, 48 points now for them. So are Example UK. And as we said, this rise of these teams down in the bottom, but they've just not changed because, again, they're not pushing hard enough, really, when it comes to getting those points. I think Savage had a beautiful stronghold in that 3rd game. They could have won that game easily. But again, and I'm going to hammer it this time, really, if Team Savage are watching, you got to be able to close out those late games. I mean, we've watched now since the national championship, since groups, since now finals, and we're still seeing the same mistakes now months on from competition on as well from the last. I mean, these just should not be happening.
I feel like I've got my way of explaining their situation as well. They just need to make the most out of their positions. I know they like playing that rotation game, they like playing positioning, but you gotta expand and try to get your kills in more than 1 or 2 ways. Right, because we've had the pleasure and the honor to look at many squads, even at the PMPL level. We look at teams like Galaxy Racer right now, EMEA 2nd place and one of the best teams in the world. You can see they play a very, very different style, but doesn't mean that they can't play the style that Team Savage is playing. They are just extremely versatile. Of course, it may be a bit of a stretch to compare, our teams with that, but it's not wrong. One of these will be playing in the same level for PMPL.
Yeah. We've got to be able to match it, though. That's really the scary part about it. And can they actually be able to match up? That's something I'm really concerned to see. And I think, of course, there's going to be a lot of competition. But if they can't be able to match those different versatile play styles, they can run over, because there's constantly going to be force and a clash of different styles when you do combine different regions into interregional play.
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, that's a long, long stretch. Right now, they only need to focus on those 1 or 2 things. We always say it. There's always something to learn, but when there are still, games, it's just tomorrow. Basically, after you sleep, they've got work or school, they come back, and that's about it. Focus on 1 or 2 things that you actually can implement, and that's it. If sometimes that thing is about feeling like you don't hate each other, work on that. There's ways for that. And to be fair, that is sometimes the most important thing for teams to fix. They came in, got DMC, and then say, I hate him, he hates me, he didn't like this, we flipped that, I didn't agree with that, do you want to hear some drama or whatnot? Man, I think that is probably, sometimes the things that explain a lot of why teams, fall apart or don't perform.
If they don't fall apart, then, to be fair, they need to be built. That's the other option here to us, and they need to be able to find that synergy as well, because it's not been there, I think, for a lot of these teams. I mean, we kind of hinted at it earlier today that, the teams need to play together. They need to be able to find these 4-man team fights. It's where the strengths do lie. I mean, this is PUBG Mobile. It's a team game. Last time I checked. But don't feel like it sometimes when these teams fight. And I think that particularly that has been their own undoing. And particularly, I think also has been the undoing is awareness of when these teams do move in and how the zone shifts, how the game adapts. Because even to the basics of, well, the zone has shifted into our compound, which is only the only compound on the south side. It's gone back towards the north. We're going to have a cluster of teams on the south side, we can imagine. Syrax would appreciate that. Instead, yes, they were able to grab through TSC Legends before it died, but they really stood no chance because they wasted such a rotation and the fact they lost 2 players from TSC Legends before they did take them down.
I think the landscape is very hard to maneuver through. And when they decided to hold that spot, as a very eastern team from like Impala, that's how they need to think, like, what's next then? Like, I think that is a very typical type of circle where you can, obviously get rewarded for just having the circle given to you, but it's important to know what's not in front of your eyes as well. But we are down to this last game of the day, Highland Wolf, and after this one, we are halfway done the finals.
Already the one to the finals, but also one more time where you can have a beautiful Xiaomi and enjoy a fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience. So Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 to 5G Tarzan, as well as beautiful playing path here. It does step itself all the way through to Quarry. And for Quarry here, it just feels like, again, a very going to be much clustered playing path into early game stage, because I think that now, yes, teams are probably going to drop towards Yasnai, Polyana to Star, but a lot of teams, so when we look towards the group stage, very contested over in that western side, and it wasn't seen before so much when it came to that last game. I'm interested to see if teams try to adapt to that now, considering that we don't have access to that eastern side that a lot of teams did appreciate.
Yeah, and you can see we've got 777 needing to adapt. They can't go to Nova without some traveling, right? So they are coming through and maybe going for some cars along the road, but that may not be easy at all. And you can see Triple maybe going back to farm, and Syrax still probably heading towards a military base. And the interesting thing is, like, Saverne is not touched. Yeah, I know, like, we talked about it, but it seemed like both teams just want to draw away. And this time, Gaijin wants to join the party around North Georgia Port. I don't think it's wrong. They can maybe take out like a KV. KV is not really in good shape right now, but it's also RESQ very close. Their drop has always been South Georgia Port, and we've got a very strong southeastern circle. And you know what? Like, I feel like recently we either get very hard shifts on the southwest side or the southeast side, and 777 needed to make a bit of a change, want to take away some cars in this area, and this is where Conqueror like to split land. And now that is maybe catching them by surprise, and Snowboy needs to maneuver out, and that itself is a decisive one that he needs to take.
They do take, however, straight one into 777, and will be a knock for now. Takes almost a second, but the rest of the wall does protect him. So we need a 1-for-1 trade, but does get surprised. Bang, Londo OP takes him down 1-for-1. And we'll find a kill. Snowboy Conqueror already reduced to 3. And 777 redeeming themselves early on here, but it's not quite done yet. There is example looming over the edge of that hillside.
Well, very, very tough, and you can see in here as well. That is also the issue. Like, I think Conqueror did not think what it may mean for some of these other teams for that given playing path. And no one can really say for sure where 777 is going with this. Like, there's so many times that they somehow just found a way to Nova anyway. So that was a bit of a tough one. And you can see Conqueror now come back in and no longer contested in Rozok. BFOV will respect that one, but after all, it's an early stab to the heart.
Albeit now, I think that Conqueror haven't been performing not too great, but not too bad today. I feel that definitely Conqueror are improving, and I want to see Conqueror improve through the rest of this tournament, because they're going to have to really find, as we mentioned, that 75-point day that they had in that final groups overall. I mean, without that, I doubt that they're probably going to get to the top, because again, we are now going into our 8th game. We're going to be halfway through the competition here, and also the fact that we do have, albeit now RESQ, rising up. I think the only real golden silver lining here for realistically a team like Conqueror, who aren't, of course, at the top, still continuing to rise, is it this leaderboard has stagnated today because we're not seeing Syrax rise. We don't really actually have all much of a lead. So teams have had an opportunity to climb. I just think we haven't seen all of that too much, considering that, again, also RESQ, the way in which they have been winning, has been very dominant in also kills, and as such, sucking up those points possible to those lower-paced teams.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting what 777 Esports doing here. If they've done some homework, I think it might be worth just looking at car spawns close to this main road and as well as Nilta to see whether they can just go there and loot instead. Like right now, they are spending so much time to the south and coming back up. Like, to be fair, there was a team, which is Bevolve, who did that in that very southern plane path for the previous game. They went back to El Azhar and came back. That's how they lost Ebby. Like, that's how they just lost a player to the blue, because it takes so much time to make these type of rotation. Of course, like, now that they're here, they can feel extremely comfortable now that they've got one kill to start the game as well. But when it comes to the macro, I believe there are more options if they've done some homework, but that would be the risk-free one. And after all, like, looting is a skill. Like, you can be extremely efficient, and you can also be extremely slow, and I do believe sometimes teams need to draw some system out, like what building shouldn't be like looted by certain players. So just write it out so you don't repeat loot, and then you find a spot to drop all the loot for that particular person, and then you can be ever so efficient and move on into rotation.
Albeit that rotation of that phase 1 zone very eastern as well, and because it hasn't complemented that plane path, it does mean as a result, then you do have to make these quicker rotations. And again, I always love to come back to the point of, well, teams could actually make those quick, easy rotations in towards the likes of that eastern coastal line, in towards Milta, in towards Farm, in towards even Lipovka, if they dare to choose, and actually have a very peaceful early game. And of course, we talked about the likes of Team Savage being one of those teams, getting a little bit rushed down by Born for Victory, albeit I think that it is possible for teams to do that, and again, continuing that looting phase and not going to lose out too much because they're still grabbing a compound to themselves. It's more about the fact of now, though, if you're not going to take that early location, do you go in now on the edge of his second shift, or do you wait even longer to try hold out on the edge like a team like RESQ? Because when you are on that edge, the problem is, again, that information, because you're not getting the information when you're not inside the fighting.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a little bit of that chess game once again. Like, you can have what you believe to be the best method, but sometimes in particular lobbies, in particular styles, like across all 16 teams, you can't really find a way to get rewarded for even doing what you believe to be the best thing, right? And that is something that can be extremely painful. And you can see this time around, RESQ is not even rushing it. They've got the whole of Georgiapol, will get maybe everything that they need around South Georgiapol, including crates, right? So they are not stressed at all. I think they know what's in place. And you know what? Sometimes even for phase 1 tank, like if you've made enough space in your looting path to pick up the last bit, but make sure that you're fully boosted, I think that's completely fine, right? Not boosted in the way that we talk about ranking, okay, guys? Like, you get what I mean when it comes to this.
Some maybe.
Some maybe. I think those are important. And KurdVictory noticed that this is where they can cause some damage, but that will be Hyper and the rest of RESQ with no problem going in. And we don't expect anything less from them. If they lose players early, in these are rotation, I'm going to be extremely disappointed.
I just also have to look now towards where the way that RESQ are entering in. I think also you look towards RESQ, probably actually the best team who play on the edge. I mean, we've already seen it 2 games and how expertly played it can be. Of course, starting in Sanhok, going towards the west, moving in again over onto Miramar, edging their way slowly from the edge of the map as well. I think that this is clearly a style that is adapted. Yes, they played in that one style, but again, you talked about versatility of play styles, and the problem being, actually, I think with RESQ is they are also forced to that one playstyle. Yes, it looks brilliant, and I don't want to take anything away from the fact that they are, of course, clinching on to almost the first position here in the leaderboard. But the games that they don't perform are those games that they change and they deviate away from their edging. And when they try to play in the middle, they also struggle. And I think this is something that also they need to be able to learn and adapt to, because maybe that was the reason why when you look towards PMPL, they didn't do so well. They did struggle because they weren't able to adapt to how these other teams played.
Oh, and this is going to be interesting. I think Arena51, yes, we talk about playing the edge style, but if you play edge and you don't farm or capitalize, it's a little bit weird, or we don't clear. And it's not the first time that they held this compound and to have Syrax to come close to the area. And Syrax cannot take another blow, I feel like. They need to maybe just hold it down. This is where they can either put the nail on the coffin for
like
Arena51, or they can come here. But Prince is not, just need a little bit more loot, maybe. And the team's just not rushed at all. I think sometimes there's no point to rush it as well. But Syrax very aware of what can happen in here, and that is capable of doing what needs to be done. But yes, you're completely correct. Like with Prince being so far, if a fight does break out, there's no way to support that properly. There's only almost a very linear way when it comes to that fight. You can't really flank around. There's no particular angles. You can't shoot like from the water side unless you're sitting in a boat, which is something extremely new. I want to see that, but at this current meta, something that shouldn't work.
Syrax still 2v2 split seems to be working just now. Arena51 opponent picked the best team. No shame to Arena51. They do have good groups performance. I think that it just takes something a little bit more. I mean, if you're looking towards a team like AR51, what is it that has changed from the groups? Because I'm really trying to wrap my head around here, Taz, and what has it been that has changed from them trying to clutch up a final day of play to them not even getting really into double digits worth of points after now 7 games?
It's not even that last day. Like, they've got 40 plus points in the second and third day, and they went for some earlier rotation. They don't go back to Primos and then go back to the very slow rotation. They just are forced to adapt, and there's something great came out of it. So it's so weird. Like, when they're pushed to not drop at where they want, they have these big days and big games. But whenever they're allowed to, they just play a style that doesn't work. So that is just my read to it. Maybe I'm overinterpreting it, but this time round, Blood is out for Blood, and that is another knock coming through. RESQ is not done for today.
Oh, RESQ. Even, I think, just the positioning there, for example, they really didn't have to lose Kindboy, but because they did, Naka trying to come in from support, but we're just too far away to really stop the push coming in from RESQ, and now Hyper trying to play on that ridge. Didn't know that they are there. Naka deciding, do I take the gun out? No, he goes to the wide nade. He said, we'll just miss either way. Cat to cook that. You cannot play that so quickly. And now RESQ playing it patiently themselves. They do hold on to the edge of the ridge. They will not move forward just yet. Smokes have been deployed by Naka. And I think this is also a sense of respect coming through from RESQ. But again, smart respect in the sense that they know they don't really have a good position inside this fight. So we'll try to push along the edge of this ridge. They can take Naka out. There's a big opening now for the rest of RESQ to close in for the back. She can't see them doing. We find another knock on to a little bit of the health part of Kindboy and do make it a little bit harder, but they have now got Kindboy together. Can they find that revive? Yes, they are trying, and it's back to 4 players. So RESQ as well being a little bit potentially too patient here because they tried to be a little bit fancy and tried to go for that pincer.
And that's the thing as well. This position is extremely prone to third party, but what saves them is the zone. But whether it actually saves them, I don't know, because between this position in Potato Hill, there's at least 6 or 7 squads to separate, to be between both of these teams and the circle. We have a Milter circle, guys, and we still have Shelter in play, same for Lumberyard, and a good chunk of farm as well. So very versatile zone, I would say, and there are many ways for these teams to show how they'd like to play, and RESQ want to, even when we talk about the style to play edge early to transition in, even now should be go time.
Example UK confirm one away from KurdVictory. Yes, they were late rotating in, and I think they got punished for that, rightly so. I mean, again, positioning, they tried to rotate around Potato Hill, I think a little bit too aggressive, considering Potato Hill was probably almost guaranteed to have at least one team inside of it, judging by that previous second phase. But third phase, I think, is even more dastardly, in a sense, it actually is gone all the way towards Milta. Not only is this going to be hard because of the way that the playing path naturally went towards the western side, but also, of course, again, all of that entrance in from the west, all of these late rotation teams, such as Kurd, such as now RESQ, an example, they're going to really struggle because there's actually physically built a wall of players around that edge.
Yeah, and I think this is also, a good time to talk about how to split. Like, we can see the side of 777 trying to hold a very good position, like, to that southwestern side of Milta. The only problem with that position is you can get crashed from multiple sides, and you need to think about how you can provide the support across back. But right here, KurdVictory as a duo pulled up upon another team, and this time round is actually just going to be a 2v2. So it's going to be a heartbreak for either team anyway, and the Conqueror more so, I would say, because we've got high hopes. They had experienced a high for having a huge day, and right now, not quite the case.
Danoka and Hisoka are left, though, on the top floor, and they have an advantage, but they do strike down. Almost one caught with smoke in their hand, but instead just fall down either way. So I think through what could have been a clear double push. Instead, they had to go back for the revive. I mean, I'm not really sure why KurdVictory are trying to make this play if they're not going to be 100% confident, but we do take down Hisoka either way. Hisoka, get confirmed, barely survives. As you said, the third party coming through from none other than Triple Sports Club, and the zone, meanwhile, continues to go around him. It will be another knock coming in as that bite explodes. That could be even another third party strike coming on top, but Danoka and Hisoka, they step back upstairs, aware of this. They know it's going to be the case, and they take down even more of that chunk of the health bar. Jump up above. They try to find the extra knocks. They spray down even more. There's the knock. There's one. There's two. Where is the pre-fire back? There is nothing left from Kurd.
It's time to set up, though. This position is so key, and as a duo, they need to think whether this is where they want to stay. I know it's crazy to say that, but because it's so high priority, it's just so important for them to think whether they've got a plan B. On this other hand, we've got Syrax, who needs to land some more kills. Like, two on board definitely need a big game cable. Now got picked up. Multiple teams on the close proximity. 7 seconds to go, and then there's still 400 meters for them to travel.
Syrax also in their own fight, though. Tarzan, Team Savage, may be having lights out tonight. There goes Rupo. And of course, there goes Team Savage. A disappointing, I think, day from them. They tried to get up above, but that final climb, the final game, just not there. 4 kills for Syrax, as they also maneuver up towards, I think, this northern side potentially, as they are trying to surge, but going instead now straight in. I think this is slightly more riskier. You do have, of course, that slight edge of the hill to protect yourself. Of course, that is the next real step for them, but beyond that hill, though, Tarzan, where do you go? Because again, this is where, again, the contention really takes into shape. And unfortunately, though, for example, UK, they cannot hold just now against Syrax. They do already now lost 3 down to a solo player. Barely returned 1, but it's 2, I believe, but the help of the third party, as it was Triple Sports Club confirming that final one in, but now also a solo definitely confirmed through onto example UK, and there should fall the last real soon. Naka up against the rest of RESQ, puts out many smokes, but is it enough? Because it's only going to provide Tarzan 40 seconds of protection.
And we talk about that edge style. The problem with multiple teams on the side is it's a lot of neutral fights. They haven't have a really well-defined spot that they want to play off. I'm not even sure if they know what's the best spot to play in, which rock is particularly strong or rich, but RESQ knows their pacing, will continue to play that sweep style as they face maybe just the last one. Naka can maybe tear this down, but I really doubt it. Like, RESQ have been so strong tonight.
I mean, if it's a 1v4 miracle, that's something beautiful. Syrax does take down RESQ Tick, so RESQ Coyote also take it down one of Syrax Cable in return. It is a 1-for-3 now, but 1802 might just be in a 1v3 situation soon, but they do take down one so far at Gaijin. Now, before we find a second, there comes a situation where we have to play at least their 1v2, but unfortunately they can't do it, and that Wizard Tower did not protect him. Gaijin do barely clinch through the edge of that fight, but 4 kills now to them. Can they continue to defend? I mean, yes, they're starting to come in from what is the quiet side of the zone, but again, they don't have awareness of where the other teams are, more so on this western side from the east. Is that zone does shift over towards that northwest, going to be the hardest for them on this shift.
Pretty open, I have to say. The more northern parts are slightly better, but you can see Naka waited for the time. 2 knocks on here is actually a third party from Triple. Just reverse and say, you know what, there's more action to take, and that is 2 knocks.
3! As now Naka takes down Hyper. Naka's not quite done yet. As they're still alive, and the still example team might just outlive the 1v4 with the help of Triple Sports Club. Barely a broken rescue, trying to find that 1v2 back for them. As unfortunately, Coyote will get dropped. Now goes Hyper. Naka trying to steal away the kills. Grabs another 2 for them. 4 in total. Do we grab a 5th under Albi? The ledge of the health bar barely keeping him alive. And now from the backside, Naka has to turn back onto Reznov, but it cannot do it. And there also Reznov confirms back Naka. And Triple Sports Club, aggressive, but unfortunately could not take those kills overall. And again, they're only up to 2. Rescue also 4 kills, and Blood barely keeping himself out of harm's way with that buggy.
You know what? This is the type of fights and circle that still gave great priority to those teams who had that hard cover earlier. Look at these cars and look at that amount of smokes that we've seen in the past 2-3 minutes. That is going to be so important as a resource in this late game. And so many teams have these like burning, fuming cars. So it's going to be quite tough. Yes, Triple's got some great kills onto some important teams, but to have multiple teams to look at them is not going to be easy. After all, it's a very hard circle to enter.
You can see now, but he's got 0 smokes in his pockets right now. I mean, also Rescue does have 0 because it has been such a long extended fight. It is so unfortunate because now they have to continue to move into this phase 5 shift, as it has gone so far up towards the northwestern end. It was probably one of the more kinder positions for them, but because it did expel so much of that utility, it becomes all that more difficult. There's now Wizard as well inside that Wizard Tower. Do look to try and defend the more eastern side away from all of these wide rotating teams. You do have, of course, the likes of Gaijin trying to move themselves in, 777 as well. But unfortunately for Wizard, I wonder, can they actually defend? Even with TSC Legends up here, they've not really shown us that real crazy team fighting ability. Unfortunately, Gaijin down in 9th position. Can Wizard team defend, as we said, because they haven't had these high kill points. They've been trying to go for the placement points, but they're not even high on that.
Very tricky. I mean, like this whole circle just heavily rewards teams who just have a shack, have a Wizard Tower or something like that, and you can see, I mean, it's finally the game maybe for the South BVV. It's quite insane to see how they can take, I mean, they've got the gun skills, that is for sure.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
but they haven't got some of these like wins or good games based off their big brain rotations. It's like always they found that spot that's somehow half given to them. So this time around, like, they need to be tested for compound defense. But you know, before we forget, TSC Legends are still in this game.
Oh, they are very much alive, Tarzan, in this game. Still got players kicking away, but born for victory. A very insane split coming through from them. I'm worried, though, is that too big a split? Because when you have this wide triangle, yes, you can see more in the late game, but if you lose a player, there is 0% chance, really, that you get that revive back onto that player. So you have to be so careful and cautious. You have to play for more information and fighting, which is something, again, BVV do not try to do to their advantage. You can already see Jimmy facing that problem.
Man, like, I mean, when you have that type of split and you just get not and finish anyway, like we've seen Jimmy and his teammates sometimes just slip in those end games. You can't do that. Like, it's time. This is the type of games that you have to take. The zone's given to you, but you can see multiple teams trying to enter right now as the blue zone's closing in. So many smokes everywhere, but that is the only way to live. Seems like Wizard might be struggling from the Wizard Tower as well.
Of course, they do have to continue to move. The zone barely snatched him away from that Wizard Tower. RESQ snatched away from life is also there. Triple Sports Club take their second. Conqueror, Denoga pushing their way one more, but not before Dika does strike him down, confirms him away. Also one extra for Wizard, and inside our final 5, TSC Legends already, we're not seeing them, but up to 8 kills, Tarzan, and it is a wide, big game for them, and they spread their wings through. Triple Sports Club going to be the first to drop as B4V. Kryzen, I think, is realizing he is out in a solo world as the rest of his team continues to head on to the back, more towards the west. TSC Legends do not stop continuing to push, and that is why Kryzen has been so quiet.
But you know what? Like, we talked about this earlier as well. We talk about that high ground to progressively move down from the north side. That will give some teams that advantage, and seems like the experience of TSC allows them to understand that. Like, they make that rotation and just charge straight through to the north and slowly work their way in and work their way down. So many teams don't know that. They just want to get to the next spot. And little did they know that that is only a very temporary solution. It's not even a solution. It can bait you into the next position where you have no covers to play off. And TSC are looking to get more kills even than that. Now they've got at least 19 kills in this, and that itself can place them like above 777 Esports and even further.
TSC, though, they have to continue to get these points because remember, they were dropped down to 4th on those overall standings. They haven't really had those standout games, but now is in a similar position to where they finished game number 1. Really here, Tarzan are looking to try take down a second. This is their comfort space. And inside the woods, I thought Birds was supposed to be able still to find their prey with eagle eyes like theirs. As now Wizard also trying to magic up something, conjure up this knock onto Kryzen. Taker can't quite find it, and as a result has stepped straight on back before Wizard get knocked. But it's born for victory. Kryzen who gets taken down first, then goes Golden, then goes Dragon. There's a 2 and 1, but not anything for TSC. It's now B4V. They run up to the hill, but only to lose another. And Abby left barely alive, but they're still kicking in the TSC Legends. All the meanwhile, putting the nades down, going even further, blow up the buggy, but it's in between that nade. All the 3 of those final members. TSC taking down Knight, though that's going to reduce B4V to 2. And still, Jaja setting up another smoke, continuing slowly to push. And now Bujo gets knocked just before, but can now take out Kryzen as well with the help of Wizard. Down to only now nothing for Born for Victory as Wizard Esport take at least second, their biggest game so far on the finals. Jaja continuing to push, but cannot push no more. Will get knocked. Do Wizard steal this away? It is on the edge of a knife. In the blue zone behind him. Now Joker under pressure. Does take though Euphoria. In a second is Dragon trying to find success. Bujo barely taken away from the ridge. Will be able to come out of harm's way. The airdrop protecting the final 3rd member. But quick and decisive shutdown. Cuts away as now nade goes wide. Dragon as well, covering as the 3rd man for Wizard, gets back on revive. Dragon still under fire.
Man, and they want to play this bottom side. I don't think that's an issue. And the side of Dragon needs to get in though, and they actually got the revive off as well. This is a time to test their experience, Bujo. I mean, after probably the most experienced player here in this lobby now, they gave away their position, gave away their advantage. They couldn't give away this chicken dinner.
TSC Legends are up to 11. They're trying to spray in. They do find a spray onto Dragon. That's a knock they need. The off-angle player executed from the fight. Can still give information, Tarzan. They are still up. They haven't been completely taken away. So they do have eyes still available to TSC and their positionings. Zatoni Bo does step up, takes down that third, does confirm it. 12 now for the Eagles. Can they take 14? They crawl their way further forward. And Wizard, they crawl their way back. Phase 8 is on its incline. And unfortunately here for Wizards, there is no real way away from that blue zone. Real Joker now knocked as well. Do they go for the push? It's a 2v1. Dika on the edge. The blue zone is closing in, as we said. Also the smoke. The only thing it protects him, but now the smoke has dissipated. And Bujo, another nade onto Joker, trying to confirm the kill. Barely goes wide, does sneak away half of his HP.
And that's just clearing tree after tree. And so important to have late game utilities as well. Bujo will slowly work his way up. And to be fair, still very possible 1v2. We are into phase 9. Phase 9 is the case. That is for Tony on the move.
But Tony does move, rightly so, catches out Joker. Dika steps up, they try to spray, but his position has been located. And now the TSC Legends duo step up, execute him away. The final done for Wizards in TSC in that final game, Tarzan. In all fairness to them, a brilliant step up from overall a poor performance today. And I think they really needed these points because they were starting to slip.
29-point game. I think they will be in top 3 for sure, and RESQ are bouncing as well. I know wasn't the best game, but Blood was able to get them to 6th place, so that's 4.4, 8 points. So it's not too bad. I know there's a lot of fans for them after a very decent day, and but Syrax, to our disappointment, I feel like they're so... Because it was so much excitement from what happened yesterday, that is so hard to match. Like anything that is just mediocre feels terrible. And today they're trying to get these points, and you can see they try to, come in. The blue is very close, still try to open fire, to get maybe some openings where you can't really get anything more, and then just, fail to pace it better. But that is it, guys. Half the finals of the Splits PMCO UK is over.
We're going to see that halfway result, so Tarzan, and see exactly where these teams stand after 8 games. And to be fair as well, TSC Legends, we expected 3rd position for them. 777, just slightly further down, but very, very close in between these top 3 teams, and that is going to be very exciting, more so to tomorrow's games. And also, can actually 777, can Gaijin, can Conqueror have those big games too? Can they step up and even compete? Because now it's looking like that 30-40 point lead edging out.
Very hard to predict from now on. I'd say it's about endurance as well, and whatever amount of work they can put in. Sometimes you really don't want to overwork as a player. You cannot overload your circuits. I think that's a really, really key thing. So I'd say when it comes to play style or whatnot, like we need to do this, we need to do that, like that is a very hard type of narration to come through. But when it comes to certain, just 1 or 2 pieces of info on a particular segment of the map, that they can digest. I'm pretty sure they would at least be able to remember, I'd say, the list of the team so that they can get better, like kill feed awareness, like when it actually pops up. So, many things. I'd say drop locations is always the basic there.
Albeit, unfortunately, basics slightly lacking from some of these teams. I mean, 1802, the biggest shocker, to be honest, Tarzan. I mean, they were way up in this leaderboard at the start of today. I mean, I am going to look through at the start of yesterday's leaderboard. 1802, they were already positioned in 5th position. Now 9th for them. They're on the 2nd page, 55 points. They have only gained here 22 points so far out of today. Wizard already rising up, very close behind them, grabbing so many. But you also have to wonder, can these teams even get higher? Of course, not for the PMPL spot by this point, I think, but more so for the money. Can we see that improvement come through from these lower placed teams? Because we haven't really seen a lot from quite a handful of them.
Like really hard to, say any memorable moments as well. Like, but we know, like from those, stats or whatnot, we've got some decent comeback. But the problem is this: like, there's no consistency, and sometimes all it takes is for one very terrible play for your squad to feel bad, and then you can't perform. Like those things, do unfortunately to a certain extent correlate, and But yeah, I'd say to play the best PUBG is important. And now that they've made it to the finals, I think when it comes to how like it works, like through the splits, there's still a chance that they can get the invitation and come back. So to have that as the base, then you should just work on something like for the long run, right? We've seen players like leaving, we've seen teams getting torn apart. You know, like sometimes it's so painful to be so close, but then like don't have it. So then you would be like, okay, then it's GG's. Let's go. We didn't feel good, but it doesn't have to be like that. After all, 2 more days, I should say, for them to prove themselves.
2 more days. We are going to be back with you, myself, and Tarzan once again, same time, same place. We'll see you on Saturday evening.